All right. Well, I'm talking to this guy, Alex here, and he's a Trump supporter, and I've had some Twitter beef with him for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're going to try to resolve it a little bit, have a very friendly, open conversation. How
Well,
about
that all
that?
depends on you. It depends on what your goals are. If your goals
Well,
are to defend everything you've said, then we're going to have a wild night of argument. If you're
well,
going to pull back on it a bit, then
I can tell you, I thought you were an anti-Semite. Maybe that's not true.
no. But
Um,
even if you thought that, the discretion used to going full on in tweeting that is pretty reckless. It's like extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence,
okay. Well, I'll
and
tell you
you
what.
had no evidence. You had a hunch.
Well, let me tell you why I thought you were an anti-Semite. You're talking with somebody over YouTube who was a neo-Nazi, right? Like,
Yeah.
so it was a full-on
No,
neo.
I don't know if he was a
I
neo-Nazi.
just
I
said
didn't even get that
he was
from
essentially a neo-Nazi. I mean, he was anti-Semite. You would agree? He was a very virulent anti-Semite, right?
what I got from talking to him was that he was hedging a small group he was talking to. I'm not going to defend his thing on what the at that point
Okay. Well,
we didn't even know
let's.
what the
Okay,
official
well,
outright was. That's why
okay.
we were talking to him.
Whoa. But let's go back to what he said. What he said was that Jews have historically been this tribe that degrades white culture, and he said a lot of really horrible things about Jewish people that were just the definition of anti-Semitism. It could have been something that Adolf Hitler said. So if you're not going to say that he is an anti-Semite, I like just that. I find it may not make you an anti-Semite. Maybe it means you're very, very stupid, or not able to
Yes.
not conversant to that at all. But that almost speaks for itself.
Well, your 1 degree of anti-Semite criteria for calling someone an anti-Semite is
Okay,
very reckless.
okay,
It's very
hey,
reckless to publicly tweet that someone's an anti-Semite after you've blocked them.
okay, well, I think you're. Oh, I only did it because I
So
thought it was
that
true.
is like cowardly. So I know stupid is your thing. I know vague assertions to discredit the opposition is your thing. We're trying to have honest debate. You guys want to lock yourselves into little echo chambers.
But let's go to the fact here. I thought you were an anti-Semite because you talked to somebody who said incredibly anti-Semitic things, and you seemed that you completely agree with him.
Oh, completely agreed. Okay, this is why I asked. Lang migrated his channel and has a new channel, and I said, put this video up. Find anything. And I remember when we went back and forth on Twitter, you were saying, oh, at this time he says this. You didn't respond. You didn't say anything. You didn't denounce him. Now, first of all, he was putting caveats into everything he said, going, now, I'm not talking about all Jews. Most Jews are great and this and this. I'm talking about this little shady Illuminati at the top, in which I roll my eyes the same way I do with 9/11 truthers, and I don't take them that seriously.
Okay, but can you admit to me that that guy was an anti-Semite, right?
He was anti-Semitic against some shady cabal.
No.
A lot of these. Okay, listen. 9/11 truthers have to go somewhere, don't they? That people that are addicted to fantastic answers need to go somewhere for their next conspiracy theory.
Okay,
I have always denounced the alt-right. I have always said this is a weird group of guys who make me uncomfortable, who I totally don't support. On the official, because Milo Yiannopoulos and all these people who use frog memes to troll the SJW politically correct paralysis that America has, those are not white nationalists, but the media lumps them all in as white nationalists, and they say they're all alt-right, they're all this, and then everyone does this big old smear, this big old reduction that everyone is a neo-Nazi.
But if you don't want to associate yourself with neo-Nazis, don't do it. That's what I'm saying. I mean,
And I'm saying you're a free speech fascist because we had no idea what the guy had to say. How do you understand someone saying is hateful without asking them?
No, I can listen to that guy for 5 minutes and say, this guy sounds like Adolf Hitler. And he sounded exactly like Adolf Hitler. That was his entire argument, which was classic anti-Semitism. And if you can't listen to that and say, wow, you're saying stuff that's awful, I think that is, at the very least, that's a failure on your part to listen to someone who's saying stuff that's horrible and not respond to them. in a negative way. You were
Okay,
basically seeming
so
to agree with him.
your whole case is guilt by association.
No, it's not
Even
guilt by
when
association.
my association with him was asking him, what the fuck is the alt-right? What the fuck am I hearing? How are you guys into Jew conspiracy theories? How are you into like white harmony theories? I don't agree with any of it.
Okay,
If they
well,
say
that's
like
not.
homogenous races make for more harmony in the society, I say, then why is Africa so shitty? In the Congo, where they're all homogenous, it's not a good theory. It's
Okay,
guys that
I didn't
9/11
hear. I
shooters
didn't.
had to go somewhere.
Okay,
Okay,
well,
it's
okay,
scary. They should be stopped. They should be opposed. I'm not in favor of getting the alt
okay,
right any
well,
steam.
okay, well, you also talked about George Soros, and
Hmm.
you sort of brought him up when we were talking earlier, and you sort of think that he's sort of a representative of Jewish people.
No, I said he's not. I
He's
said
not.
you
Okay.
said you phrased your question very loyally and said, now there's no aspects of anti-Semitism. There's no one that you hate. And I said, well, I don't like George Soros at all. I think he's evil, but that doesn't reflect on the Jewish people. It reflects on one shady fucking billionaire who's got no soul.
Okay. I mean, I think there's a lot of people on the sort of alt-right who point to him as this awful boogeyman, and he's not especially bad for a hedge fund manager. I mean, anyone who's in that business is going to make a lot of money off of other people. That's how trading
Okay. All
works.
right. Well,
If
let's
you're on
use
the winning
Cat's
side,
logic.
no,
Sorry, go
no,
on. Yep.
if you're on the winning side of a lot of trades, you're going to make a
Hmm.
lot of money off of other people. He's just very good at his job over time, and he's also politically active. And he gets
Hmm.
brought out here, and he's used as this anti-Semitic trope of this, Jewish banker who's meddling in politics. And the fact that people bring that up, it's an anti-Semitic dog whistle. And if you can't see that and you can't sort of take that on.
Oh, I can see the angle you're coming at. Then why not oppose him instead of support him? If you're going to use your argument of any
I think
slight
George
endorsement
I
of
think George
anyone that's
Soros is a good guy. I think he's a good guy.
okay,
Yeah.
was he a good guy when he pretended he was a Christian and cleaned out the homes of his fellow Jews
What are you talking
and
about?
helped? Okay, and how did he escape concentration camps? By pretending he was Christian and going along with Nazis to clean and rob the homes of his fellow Jews. So he's an anti-Semite, and now you're an anti-Semite by your own logic.
During the Holocaust. He's a child.
He was
How old
14. He was 14.
How old was he in 1944? How old is
He
George
was 14
Soros?
years old.
And you're saying that he should have admitted to being Jewish and
No,
died in the Holocaust?
no. I'm saying that if I apply your lens of logic, where the slightest thing you do that counters the Jewish race makes you an anti-Semite, then we can have very sloppy conversations. And your logic is always set up very sloppily. Yeah, I've looked through your tweets earlier and saw that Jeff Sessions is a racist. You'll go out and yeah, on what evidence? On what evidence?
He said that he liked the Ku Klux Klan.
No. He made a joke. He made a totally sarcastic joke going, yeah, I like the Ku Klux Klan until I heard they were pot smokers. Obvious sarcasm, obviously turned into not sarcasm for the purposes of left propaganda. Okay?
No, I mean,
demonize. The guy can have a whole great career, but in Cat's land, it's the yes all fallacy.
No,
something bad about him, and this is his whole career.
I mean, no, excuse me. That's only the tip of the iceberg with him. I mean, this is a guy who he tried to take away black people's voting rights in Alabama.
No, he didn't. There was voter fraud where they mailed in 500 ballots and there were FBI agents following them, and they found out that there was voter fraud. And because he prosecuted that, you have turned it into he's against their civil rights.
Okay,
it's absolute bullshit. It's more spun bullshit.
No. You're trying to say that this is the idea that he's racist is some sort of social justice warrior left conspiracy. This is a guy who
made everything. The left has made everything racist. The term has lost all power.
Do you know when he was rejected by a Republican Senate Judiciary Committee in the 80s? This is not some new thing where he's considered racist. He's been considered racist for a very long time. And then you have other Trump people who are in the same vein, like Michael Flynn. This guy is completely bonkers.
No, he's not.
His connections to Vladimir Putin, his connections to the
well, have you read his book, Field of Fight, where he's actually saying that the two biggest enemies we face right now are Iran and Russia?
Well, obviously,
that's a little counter to him being buddy-buddy.
Well, he took money from Russia. And here's a guy. Okay. He follows white nationalists on Twitter, and he tweets out conspiracy theories. He tweeted out.
We're in Cat's world, where anything that someone does that is not their opinion, what was his worst thing? That fear of Muslims is rational. Oh my God, let's kill the guy. What's worse, him saying that or Hillary saying that Islam means peace? Let's build bridges to it. Jesus Christ.
No, I think it's very, very harmful for somebody at the top levels of the U.S. government to say that kind of stuff about the religion of Islam. I don't think that's helpful in the least. But when it comes to Michael Flynn, here's a guy who tweets out conspiracy theories about Hillary Clinton and says that she's like a Satanist devil worshiper. He actually tweeted out the spirit cooking thing. So like you have these kind of people who are conspiracy theorist wackos and racist people, and you put them into the highest levels of government. It's horrible. And if you're Jewish, you can sort of see where this is going, and you say we need to oppose this, and we have to disassociate ourselves from anyone who's associated with this kind of rising anti-Semitism and white nationalism, white supremacy. And that's
It is funny how this absolute hysterical fear that white supremacy is on the rise was totally brought forth by a privilege scale created by the left to legitimize anti-white racism. I am not in favor of whites being supreme or anything like that. But when you create a system and you teach Marxist theory in schools to all these kids,
I'm not teaching Marxist theory.
I'm not talking about you. Okay.
Okay. Hillary Clinton's not teaching Marxist theory. I don't know if that justifies, going out and joining with people who are openly tweeting out,
back to your guilt by association, back to finding the worst thing you can find and pulling a yes all fallacy that yes, that's all they're good for. Yes, Flynn has nothing to do. He wasn't the highest ranking intelligence official that could be appointed.
He was considered a complete asshole who couldn't do his job, and he violated national security several times.
No, that's the left wing's version of it. The other version of it is that he testified to Congress that the US is not safer than it was a year ago, and that pissed off Mr. Obama, so you're fucking out.
We'll just
what?
Look at the guy's Twitter.
The New Yorker's version of this or the Washington Post. That's all I hear when you talk. Is CNN talking points, disgrace, discredit, and there's no. You're not interested in the debate. You're interested in assassinating the characters of all people you could debate with.
No, well,
that's the bottom line to what you do. And when you go hard on, oh my God, everyone's a Nazi. Did you not see the alt-right? They're all Nazis. Look, your fucking country is being burnt to the ground by lefto-anarchists.
No, what are you talking about?
Say a word. Okay, 11 police officers. How many has it been since BLM's been around? How many police officers need to die while this little left-wing social experiment where Hillary fucking Clinton invites 14 mothers of thugs to the DNC convention to go on stage, basically spit in the face of law and order. And you have the gall to say, we're worried about fucking the Jews and they're going to be fucking run out of town. Well, I'll tell you this. There are people that are actually anti-Semitic. They're called Muslims. And that's who Hillary wants to let in by the fucking cartload. Okay? They breathe like rabbits. And
we're a country that doesn't believe we have freedom of religion. And we're not going to.
Yeah, that's another problem. That's another problem. Islam is sneaking in with all the other freedoms of religion without realizing that this thing means submission and it's not compatible with freedom. And their interpretations of their peaceful, the guy that you know down the street, he's a 1% Muslim. He's what they act like at 1%.
Okay. I
understand that this isn't good for you. No, I've heard all this. But you were on the anti-Semitic kick, okay? You're worried about a couple of guys doing fucking Nazi salutes in a fucking Hotel 6 somewhere. No. I'm talking about people who actually.
Steve Bannon is the.
Oh yeah, tell me how he's racist. Tell me how he's racist. Tell me how he's anti-Semitic. The
guy ran Breitbart. Breitbart is the center. It's himself claimed that he was part of the alt-right, and Breitbart was the central platform for the alt-right. And he is the top advisor to
another move to disgrace that whole news media as.
Breitbart is obviously it's propaganda. It's right-wing propaganda. They have
What is CNN? What is CNN that say thousands of times a week during the election that Trump said Mexicans are rapists? They didn't provide any context.
He did say Mexicans are rapists.
Yeah. Okay. But in context-free Cat's world, in context-free Cat's world, he did. Okay. But in the actual world where you play full clips of things, he said that the illegals coming across the border, they're not sending their best, folks. He didn't say Mexicans are inherently racist or Mexicans are inherently rapists.
Well, he did
Okay?
say he did
No,
say
no, no.
that
It's clumsy.
they're
You
rapists.
dare to call Breitbart fake news, who got on the rise because CNN refused to tell the truth. And this
No,
is all shown in leaked emails.
No,
This
no,
is
no.
all shown that
No, it's
Podesta
not.
was checking stories for Politico, who I
Oh,
know
well,
you cite on your
okay.
Twitter quite a bit.
Excuse me.
Hey, I'm a real hack journalist. Why don't you take a look at this for me, Podesta, and let me know if I
No,
can
no,
run
no,
it?
no, no.
That's
not
collusion.
true.
That's
not
Stalinist
true.
media.
No,
And then you have the nerve to call.
Shut up. Shut up.
Oh my God.
Shut
Safe
up.
space. Get in your safe room.
No, shut up. Okay.
Shut up. You're a dummy. You're an anti-Semite and a dummy.
No, listen, buddy.
Keep going, you erudite.
You're making a lot of claims that are not true. Okay. For one thing, there was no collusion with the media. Here's what happens. If you're a journalist, you contact sources. You say, hey, I'm writing a story on you. Can I talk to you about this? And that's what happens. People who are journalists, actual journalists, not Milo hippopotamus, actually, they have sources they talk to. And there's communication between that source. And then they report it. That's what reporting is. It's asking questions of people.
Thanks for the cat's version. It's narrative-based reporting where they meet in a room in the morning on the phone to fucking Bob Creamer, head of the Thug Party.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about proven things that have been established that you act flabbergasted at hearing like it's never happened.
No,
Chicago wasn't shut down by paid protesters, by things that were absolutely leaked by Veritas. That Bob Creamer had met 347 times he'd been to the White House, 47 times he met with Obama. They are totally colluding. And that he admitted that he has a morning meeting where he talks to Hillary.
Excuse me. Is there something wrong with protesting? You're allowed to protest.
When it's paid protesters to disrupt and to get the cameras ready, so you do it just outside, so you get some good footage of Trumpers fighting back when you instigated them, when you go there to poke them with a stick and pay them $1,500
Excuse me, going to protest shouldn't cause someone to react with violence, right?
When you organize, oh, dude, if this was Trump, if you had Trump on tape going, hey, let's get some thugs in there with billy clubs and let's...
Well, Hillary didn't do that.
You would be going to fucking town. Well, Hillary was on the phone with Bob Creamer. Hillary was totally colluding with the DNC. Everyone was in bed together. It has been shown to be true.
You're throwing out a lot of facts. They're not true.
So much.
Okay, listen. Hillary's apparently their big accusation of Hillary Clinton was that she said once that
the Daffy Duck.
It should not instead of being a chicken who is making fun of Trump for not releasing his taxes, it should be a duck because he's ducking, right?
Yeah.
The idea that is some massive conspiracy that caused all these massive wave of violence. Oh, it's a duck suit, not a chicken suit. Oh, it's gonna.
Well, that's a straw man. No one is making that claim. The only reason that video was released was because that proves that she's breaking the rules. It wasn't the fact that it was a large scale break of the rules. It was just showing that she broke the rules.
There was always
I've never mentioned that. I have never mentioned the Donald.
That's the only connection to Hillary in this whole thing. But there's this whole idea that the media was colluding, and all it turns out to be is that people were emailing their sources and talking to them, which is their fucking job. And the fact that
such bullshit.
Bullshit. No, excuse me. And then when you compare Breitbart, which publishes racist, idiotic, crazy articles from people like Milo Yiannopoulos.
Again, racist. Again, big terms, no evidence accompanying it. Just a big assertion from you.
Well, isn't he racist?
And if you say it loudly enough and you're fucking hysterical enough, I know dummies will believe you.
Okay, well,
he's not racist.
He's praised the alt-right, hasn't he? This is a guy who praises the alt-right and makes all kinds of defenses of them. And he's organized Twitter mobs of people to harass people. I mean, this is not a good guy. But when it comes to Breitbart, they have a specific ideological agenda. And you cannot possibly disagree with me on that, right? They're ideologically driven.
They are the anti-alternative news media when they realize that the stuff we're getting through mainstream news that claims they're neutral. I don't mind MSNBC or Fox because they actually claim their bias. People like CNN, though, they actually claim to be neutral when they're clearly not. They are clearly not neutral. The amount of time spent on what CNN does is this: they will mention WikiLeaks once for 15 seconds.
No, they mention it a lot.
Listen. They don't mention it a lot at all. And then when someone calls them out on it, they said, we've covered that, but we're here to talk about this. Because that's what happened in their morning narrative meeting.
Okay,
well, please stop saying okay.
The media was incredibly unfair to Hillary. They were incredibly biased in favor of Trump the entire time.
Okay, you know what the Chiron always read?
Okay, they focused on this bullshit email story the entire time, and they never actually went after the fact that Donald Trump, just for example, he doesn't know anything about any issue. he never got that pushback on the fact that he's a complete imbecile.
Okay, again, we just have your hysterical assertions. Of course,
listen to him fucking talk. He's a fucking imbecile.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he's an imbecile in the sense that you'll find the worst moment he has, and I can find the worst moment Hillary has.
His entire fucking life, he has not made one coherent statement about policy in the entire campaign, and he didn't get much pushback on that. And that's not because of a conservative conspiracy on the part of CNN. It's the fact that we have a media that's just out there to sell advertising and isn't interested in being the sort of high-minded journalists that you might have at, say, the Washington Post or the New Yorker. And it's not these sort of intellectual. No, excuse me. They're
great.
The Washington Post is the best. No, the Washington Post is probably the best political reporting on the campaign. And they have the best journalists. They had, Farenthold did that great reporting on the Trump Foundation.
Okay, now notice what I did there. There was minimal interruption while you were talking. So let me go on without the, okay. Excuse me. You were talking about Trump never making sense, never said anything that made sense.
Never.
So about him addressing the illegal immigrant crisis, the 11 million undocumented illegals that it's called illegal. But him addressing that makes him racist, makes everyone lose their shit when it was a lefty festering issue. And partly to blame W before. Yeah, I know you can cite your statistics of the record numbers of deportations from Obama, which was really actually him turning people away at the border, calling that deportations to pad the numbers, make him look like a real tough guy. Okay, that's great. Okay, and also, I'm just going over points that Trump has talked about that you say never happened, that he just babbles and never said.
Yeah, well, his immigration statements are not coherent at all. I'm sorry.
Okay, we'll cover that. You just bookmark that one.
Okay.
What about worldwide spread out army protecting, fully funding NATO while the rest of the countries don't meet their minimum standards, including my country, paying less than 2% of the commitment to NATO? The world is we're at war, and all Obama did was say, nope, hands off, let the world burn. This will be okay, not our problem. And everything got worse. And then a guy comes along to say, we're going to address this. We're no longer going to let NATO allies pay absolutely jack shit into their own defense as they're being overrun right now by Muslim immigrants, extreme economic migrants, let's say, not refugees. Okay, the world is fucking on fire, and you dare to call the guy saying, "Yep, there's a fire." Oh, he's crazy. He's bumbling. He's racist. You've set up this politically correct, shitty landscape for so long that anyone that speaks out against it sounds crazy, and you can blame yourself for Trump coming along. Because people were just so sick of never being able to tell the truth, of never being able to say, guys, we're watching fucking Europe burn, and they used to be at 1% Muslim population too. So why do we think our experiment will work? Why do we think that Hillary quadrupling the number we're letting in from Syria, a place where mandatory hatred of the West is prerequisite to living? Okay, there are simple truths that come along. And the same arguments were being made pre-World War II by the same lefties that would say, oh my God, Mr. Churchill is a brute. He calls women ugly. Chamberlain is quite a politician. We should let him handle this. We can deal with Mr. Hitler. We can talk to him. The same lefty sackless decadence was happening back then.
Well, isn't that all you need? And Trump message on Russia?
Well, exactly. So Russia is Stalin in World War II. Churchill hated fucking Stalin. But do you think he went to war with him when Hitler invaded Russia? No, he said, I've got a useful ally against a clear and present enemy, the Nazis. Okay. So America has a clear and present enemy, Muslims. They are screaming out of North Africa and the Middle East, and they need to be dealt with. So how are you going to deal with it? How's Obama going to deal with it? Little drone strikes? Hey, if I take out the head of this fucking extremist group, then they'll all just put away their guns and go home. No, that's pretty simple. They don't need a genius in charge.
I don't really understand what you're talking about or what relationship.
You're saying that Trump makes no sense and that his policies make no sense, and I'm saying it makes total sense. What Hillary was for keeping an alliance with the Saudis and Turkey, which I know Trump will still keep the alliance with the Saudis. I wish he wouldn't, but we can go into what I think needs to be done over there, but we're all armchair quarterbacking this.
Okay.
And her relationship with Turkey will start World War III with Russia. You are in a place to start World War III. It is crazy.
Okay, but let me just address your whole point here, because this has no connection to what I understand about American politics. And you have this sort of fixation with, Muslim immigration or Muslims coming into the country. And it's not, even if you're correct in some sense that, there is a problem in Europe with too much immigration or what have you, it doesn't really affect, like, that's not happening in the United States. There were 10,000.
Then why would you let it? Can you not at least admit that it's a huge problem letting that door open a crack when they have 5 kids per and your population is plummeting?
No, the United States population is not plummeting. The fact
you need 2.1 kids per family to even sustain yourself, and America's at 1.6. They're only at 1.6 because of the red states. If it was up to the Democrats on the coasts, you guys are at 1.2 kids.
Okay, but you have this sort of like demographic threat view of
birth rate math. It's simple math. It's simple birth rate math.
Okay, well, the fact is that the United States is a country that's getting older, as many European countries do. And if you have a woman who's 65 years old, I hate to break it to you, she's not going to have kids. And you have a lot of immigrants from countries that are much, that we need immigrants to do work, work in the United States, and we need our population.
Ideologically compatible immigrants.
Okay, well, maybe that's a question. So to me, like that, your whole sort of like framework about that, it's very sort of extreme. It's very sort of, you're sort of like fear mongering about.
I'm not fear mongering. The war is on. You just don't notice it.
Okay, well, in my mind, we actually do have a real. We have. It's a humanitarian crisis in Syria, and we absolutely need to be taking refugees from Syria. And we actually have a very, very long and thorough vetting process for people who come here. Most of it's families. It's mostly women. And it's people who, Syria is not, Afghanistan. It's, in the grand scheme of the entire world, it's not, the most like third world country in the world. A lot of these people, they're, we can tell they're, they might be Muslim. I don't view, like, to me, like going around America and saying this is only a country for people who are Christian, Jewish, atheist, or Hindu. To me, that sort of like takes the whole project of America and it sort of destroys it, and it creates this sort of totalitarian society where we're sort of valuing people based on their beliefs. And what I believe is that when you have a modern country like the United States with its sort of pluralistic values, and you have a commitment to liberalism, I think people like my family was Jewish, a lot of them were Jewish coming into the United States, and they became Americans. They're as American as anyone else. And obviously religions are different, different religions and cultures might sort of assimilate differently, but I think people eventually just assimilate into American culture. And I think we have a culture that's much more able to do that than Europe. And even if you're Europe, I don't think you can go around and say, no Muslims come in here. To me, that's essentially, it's xenophobia, and it's an idea that your culture is so sort of puny and weak that you can't win over people with moral suasion, and the fact that you have a culture. And you can be a Muslim, in my opinion, and accept liberal values, and that's going to have to be the path forward. I think we need to talk to people who might come into our country who don't necessarily share, belief in gay rights, belief in women's rights, and we need to win them over. And I think we will win them over. And so for you to just come in here and sort of say like, oh my God, America's about to become this like, awful, like, overrun with, terrorists and, Islamists. To me, that doesn't really jive with anything I know in reality. Okay. So,
okay.
And for you to vote based on that, I find it's just so weird, because what I know about, the important issues that when it comes to I think about the economy, I think about healthcare, I think about managing, the federal bureaucracy in a smart way. And for you to sort of talk about economic migration into Europe in like the second sentence of why you sort of value Trump over Hillary, to me, it just shows that you don't have the right priorities.
This is the disagreement, and this is another point I want to cover, is the GAD-SAD treatment you've given. Is there are two types of decisions that are going into who you support during the American election, and the whole package decision that you favor of like Hillary's got it all, she's got the experience, she's got this, is one decision-making process you can go by, and then I think he was calling it lexicographic choice, is saying that this issue trumps everything. And if she can't handle it, and Sam Harris desperately wanted her to. He was telling her, and I love Sam Harris. I disagree with him totally on what he's done in this election, but I totally love the guy. I'm not turning on him just because I think he's wrong on this. I think even Newton was wrong about turning lead into gold, and Hillary is Sam Harris's lead. She is not gold. He thinks she could be. She is not. And Gadsad told him in their sit down that there is a long history of Islam not doing what America hopes it'll do, like just join into the melting pot and, hey, take that tablecloth off that girl. She's going to marry an infidel, right? Because you've been exposed to this great culture. Every country who has opened their arms to Islam has gone down in exact priority of how wide they open their arms. The most liberal go down first. The most welfare offering go down first. Canada is going down really fast. I wanted Trump to be elected because he can stop Trudeau from mass importation of unvetted Syrian refugees that are being picked by Turkey, who has got a secret pact with ISIS to stop them from attacking Turkey because they agree that they'll both have a common enemy in the Kurds. So we're getting our refugees selected by Erdogan, who has just had a total coup crush in his country and used the mosques to do it. So he understands the power of this whole big bristling Salafi movement in Islam, and he's picking who comes here. We did an information request, Rebel Media did, to say, what are you asking these people in the vetting process? Our government said, no, we can't tell you that. There's a 300-day delay on telling you what we asked them. A simple questionnaire of what are you asking them when they come over? No one has a clue. They are burning their passports, and anyone tells you that, oh, the UN vetted them. The UN doesn't know anything about these people. So I don't even care if they do. I will believe that people coming over here mean well and they want to escape the tyranny of Islam in Syria. Okay, fine, that's great.
Well, it's the tyranny of Bashar al-Assad. I mean, that's the reason that most of these refugees, they're not coming from Raqqa. They're coming from, Western Syria.
Okay, well, that also has to do with Hillary. So let's go to there. So the history of that is Arab Spring sprung all over North Africa. And right. Hillary was all in. Let's support it. Let's help take out Assad. Let's give them the airstrikes. And then so I was totally against Assad. He's a complete psychopath. He's responsible for the vast majority of all deaths in Syria. I get a total monster, hated his guts. Then I'm like all excited about the Arab Spring going, oh my God, finally, Gaddafi's gone down. Mubarak's gone down. All these people, Ali in Tunisia. And then you find out that the people who we support that take over make fucking Assad look like a cheerleader. And it gets much, much worse. And the vitriol and the excitement for a caliphate and the total bombardment of blame that has been in the Arab world that says the US is to blame for every ill in your life. You know why they say that? Because they regard the Quran as perfect. So it can never be at fault. So you always need a fault. And that has always been the States. So I'm looking out for the States by saying, stop Canada from this incredibly insane process, because we'll be your Belgium. Canada will be the United States Belgium, where they just plot in Belgium and then they run across the world's longest undefended border and attack the US. So that's what originally drew me towards Trump, is giving a shit, first of all, about the last functioning democracy that they don't have a beachhead in. And everyone that on the left is like, no, it's moral. It's the liberalism, the dogma of liberalism is so infected by Islam. The Muslim Brotherhood, 25-point plan to conquer the West in 100 years. The first thing that they talk about is how you've got to side with liberal groups because they'll give you the equality of this religion that doesn't view infidels as equal. And then your birth rates take them over. It's a totally compromised philosophy. I wish it was nice. I find that lefty intellectuals are off looking at the horizon where everyone's a globalist Star Trek federation of humans. And there's no patriotism, which also gets us killed in the short-term wars. And they don't realize that in the foreground lurking is massive bloody wars with Islam for survival. And they're not wanting to prepare. And anyone that does prepare is called a racist by people that have been enlisted in the vanguard of Islam that say, you're a racist, you're an Islamophobe, these people need help. Bring in 60,000 so we can get a couple of Sarah haters. It's all worth it. I'm all for taking in apostates. I'm all for sending in Black Hawk helicopters to get out people that want to leave this mind virus of a religion. And I know, oh my God, you just said all. Did he just say all Muslims? No. All Muslims act in proportion to their percent of the society. So while they're at 1%, that guy down the street, he'll go for beers with you, he'll go for everything. When they get to 10%, the guilt sets in from the rest of the family that's over now. And they say he's not a true Muslim, he's not this, and the shame culture comes in. It always works out bad. I have nothing but evidence behind me. And the left has nothing but hopes and dreams that this time it'll be different. The experiment has been run on almost every Western country, and we're all really behind the 8 ball now. So it's not the time for you to be saying, it'll be different with us. We're only at 1%. Let's let it get to 5. Hey, we're only at 5%, which Canada's now at. Let's let it get to 7. Then you're Britain. Then there's marching in the streets saying behead all cops who insult the prophet, behead all this. You can't even handle BLMers who are murdering cops right now. Murdering white cops, but you're worried about a couple of guys giving Hail Hitlers, who I also hate on the alt-right, and I think they should be marginalized. I think they should be brought out into the light of day and have their ideas attacked.
Okay, well, I mean, it's like there are people who are, Black Lives Matter people who are very extreme, and I don't like them. And there's Nation of Islam people I don't like, and there's Islamist, crazy, far, people who are ISIS fellow travelers in the United States. I don't like them either. And it's easy to take this sort of straw man, or just take like the worst people, out there and say that's all, that's all the Muslim community of the United States. That's all the Muslim community of the UK, and a sort of fear monger based on that.
But I didn't do that. Can you at least admit I did not do that? I said that they act now like 1%. When Islam is at 1% of your population, they're very nice. They're not threatened by shaming family members and a big ummah that's moved over that shames them into acting the way they do. They act exactly proportional. 10% is France and Belgium. Look how they act in France and Belgium. You'll be at a concert and a truck will run you over, and then you'll get out your acoustic guitar and light some candles the next day because you're a sackless lefty that doesn't know how to fight for your own values.
Well, I mean, the difference between the United States and France and Belgium, I mean, a lot of, the France, like these European countries don't have a history of assimilating people from different cultures and religions. They have this sort of, very distinct French identity. That's very hard for somebody who's from North Africa to sort of feel like they're fully French, in the way that people who are coming from Pakistan or Bangladesh come to America and they feel totally American, and they're not.
Well, France did their best with Algeria. France offered French citizenship to try, like they're trying everything. Like late 1800s, they tried that.
No, but France does not have this history of being a nation of immigrants, and I don't think like every single, like it's not like you walk outside and you get killed by a terrorist in France. Like they do have a problem with it's a percentage of their population who is what's sympathetic to ISIS, but it's not like, I think you're just overblowing all of these issues and sort of creating this sort of just paranoia and fear.
It's not paranoia. There's nothing imaginary. You just said that life is fine in France. Life's not fine. Life in France is having massive cancerous tumors that you don't feel. They haven't attacked your liver and your heart yet, but there's a giant fucking tumor on your leg that you don't go near, and it's called a no-go zone. And the police don't even go in there. And women in Sweden that dye their hair fucking brown because they can't walk around without getting raped by some fucking Somali gang cruising around. So I mean, I do think Islam behaves is disgusting.
I think just as a factual matter, 10%. I think as a factual matter, you're being incredibly sort of like you're scaremongering about Muslim people.
All shit that was said before Hitler swallowed France. You're all fearmongers. Churchill was like 10 years before Hitler was doing anything.
In World War II,
Mr. Hitler is ignoring the Treaty of Versailles. He's rebuilding battleships, and we're doing nothing. And they all said, "Fearmonger, you're paranoid."
Well, a lot of people didn't want to take Jewish refugees before World War II, and a lot of those people, they died in the Holocaust. So there is a humanitarian mission to what Hillary Clinton wanted to do and what Germany wants to do.
Really, Hillary Clinton? Hillary Clinton is the biggest anti-Semite around because by your logic, she would support the Iran deal. Supporting Iran right now is basically loading a fucking missile heading straight for fucking Israel. is letting that
Okay,
Iran deal stand. Okay, that Iran deal is the most disgusting deal ever made. It doesn't even guarantee inspections of sites. It turbocharges their economy when they were under sanctions, they were the #1 supporter of terrorism. They support both sides of that shit sandwich in Israel with Hezbollah on top and Hamas below. They fund them both, and they were the largest funder in the world before sanctions were lifted. And Obama's flying in skids of billions of dollars, giving them to him because he wants to secure a legacy as a peace guy. I made peace with Iran. No, you didn't. You ruined Israel. So anyone that supports Obama and Hillary are the biggest anti-Semites on the planet, because Jerusalem will just be a dust heap of bubbling debris if you continue to let Iran have this great deal. Trump needs to drop sanctions right back on them right now. And he can't do that because Russia's back up.
The reason that we had those sanctions was premised on our negotiations for the Iran deal. And they're multilateral sanctions. They're not just the United States sanctions on Iran. And obviously, the terrorism issue is one issue. You know, their other weapons programs are another issue. I mean, Iran is not obviously they're a very bad actor in the Middle East. I mean, obviously they're, you know, one of our chief, you know, regional threats in the Middle East, and they're a massive threat to Israel. I totally agree with you on that. But the reason we did the Iran deal is to get rid of their nuclear program, which is the sort of existential threat. And it would, you know, it could really sort of, it'd be very bad if Iran got a nuclear weapon. And I think there's a question about whether the Iran deal will be effective at, you know, ending the Iranian nuclear program. But there was not the alternative option of saying, we'll keep all the multilateral sanctions on Iran indefinitely, and we'll also not agree to any kind of deal on their nuclear program. That was not on the table. And if it was, maybe that would be a better argument. But essentially what the argument was is either most of the non-US multilateral sanctions go away and they also get to continue working on the nuclear program, or we get this nuclear deal, which will allow us to have inspections and they'll dismantle, you know, X amount of, you know, these, you know, centrifuges, et cetera, et cetera. So I think you're really sort of, you know, you're not really speaking accurately about what the Iran deal did. And,
I know.
And I don't think there are a lot of Jewish people. A lot of the Jewish people in Congress voted for the Iran deal, and so to say that it's anti-Semitic to not support Israel's, you know, one opinion in Israel about the Iran deal.
Ask Netanyahu what he thinks of the Iran deal.
I know what he thinks, I mean, but he doesn't speak for all Jewish people. I mean,
no, but he speaks for Jewish people who want to exist in the next 20 years. Okay,
well, that's what you think. You know, like that's
what I know. How many times do they need to say that they're going to use this? How many times do they need to give weapons to Hezbollah, who will gladly walk a suitcase nuke into Tel Aviv, who will gladly be the deliverer of this? And then Iran says, "Oh, we don't know. Maybe it came from Pakistan." And
okay, well, but if you grant me the fact that the Iran deal will dismantle their nuclear program and keep them away from having.
It won't. It delays it.
Excuse me.
And at best, it delays it.
Okay, well, maybe that. Obviously, there's no deal that could permanently make it impossible for Iran to get a nuclear weapon in 2050, right? There's no.
You had it right at. There's no deal. There is no deal to be made with Iran. They are bad actors. They are not someone you sit at a boardroom with.
Okay.
Obama only did it because he was legacy hunting. He wanted to be the Jimmy Carter and have your little piece at the end, right? And have your little legacy.
Okay, well, if you
rushed into a deal which didn't even guarantee inspection of sites. So even if we say it delays it for 10 years, you have no way of knowing. You could say, I want to go into that hollowed out mountain and see how much uranium you're enriching right now. And they could say, sorry, it's not in the deal. We'll work it out. We'll work out the details later. No details have been worked out. So it's a total bureaucratic maze that doesn't allow you to inspect sites to guarantee that they're not doing what they say they're not doing.
Okay, well, I'm not an expert.
That's why it's the worst deal. Like the first thing I did day two.
Excuse me.
I've excused you a lot.
Well, we have a conversation here, but I'm not an expert in looking at a nuclear, you know, weapons deal and saying, is this a very, you know, will this actually work or will it not work? It seems to me that there are lots of arguments that sort of go against it, like how much warning they can get when it comes to inspection of a site, like it's 24 hours notice or something. You can't just demand to go somewhere. So, but to me, it seems entirely possible that, and the other point I was going to make is that there's no possible deal that could eliminate the possibility of Iran ever getting nuclear weapons, because that's not possible.
That's why I
Right?
said there's no deal. You shouldn't even make
right,
one.
right. So if you say that, then you're not going. Then they're going to get a nuclear weapon because you're not going to be able to make a deal with them, and you will not be able to continue the sanctions indefinitely because those sanctions are multilateral sanctions from other countries that you don't control. Who, if you don't make a deal and you refuse to make any kind of deal, they're going to walk away. And
Do you
they're going.
realize that you're the United States and Israel's Israel, and Israel has already stopped Iraq from doing this in '84 when they destroyed that? I don't remember what it was, but an enrichment facility.
Yeah. Well,
so it's already been done. Like the fact that lefties think that, and not all lefties, but regressive ones especially, think that war is never an option.
Okay, well,
you're normal in human history. Well, and the fact that you think it's not there has allowed enemies to consolidate and let the U.S. lose all influence. You think anyone in the Middle East is going to trust the U.S. again when they know all they do is leave? Like if Obama guides a war by policy and not by intelligence?
Okay, well,
the intelligence on the ground said, "Don't do this. Don't pull out. We've told all these locals that you're safe." And
well, if the Trump policy was we're going to bomb Iran and start a war with Iran, I think he would have lost by a lot. I think that
it's not a policy. If he did that, it wouldn't be something he announces. It would be something that he announces the next day and says, "We had good intel that told us they were very close and they'd moved into position. We've got these satellite photos. This is how the real world of tough decisions of not letting Iran have a fucking nuke works."
Right. Well,
it's not going to be a deal and a pen and paper that stops Iran. It's going to be some crazy fucking bunker busting missile that goes 3,000 feet below ground and then detonates, or a cobalt dirty nuke that makes an entire swath of land in Iran untravelable.
Okay. Well, I think you could probably understand that.
The world is not roses and rainbows, dude. It's hell.
Okay, well, I think you could
especially in that area.
I think you could probably appreciate the fact that the United States bombing Iran would be a very heavy decision with a lot of.
No, it would be. It would be. I have some thoughts on this, but I know Flynn, the good choice, will be advising Trump pretty well on this. And my thoughts are, you abandon your alliance with the Saudis, because all the Saudis have been getting the U.S. to do is clean up the stage 4 cancer cells at their doorstep while spewing stage 1 and 2 cancer cells over the world with Wahhabi theology and paying for mosques and just totally ruining the world while getting the U.S. to help them. So I understand that if the U.S. abandons the alliance of the Saudis, it shifts the balance of power in the Middle East so that Shia Islam is backed by Russia, but the Sunnis aren't backed by America. So in return, he can approach Putin and go, look, we've got a common enemy here, and it's Islam, and they hate us both. I'm abandoning mine, but I'm telling you I'm coming for Iran, and I want you to stay in bed that way. Okay? Tough decisions like that in geopolitics do exist, and they will exist. Like, the world is not nice, and it's been let get out of control, and I'm interested in the West winning. And you seem to think there's no war and everything's cool, and I'm telling you that this is a stealth war. This isn't okay. Germans did the honor of smacking the West in the face by swallowing Europe with tanks and fucking planes. Well, the Luftwaffe is now birth rates, and panzers are now immigration. It's going to happen, and you're going to wake up one morning and go, oh my God, I need a massive bloody civil war to reverse this now.
Okay.
When all you needed to do was listen to the guy in the room that said, look, these people are not compatible with freedom. These people, I will support Jordan. I'll give them hundreds of millions of dollars, and it'll be money better spent so they can live where there isn't real freedom. If you really submit, if you really believe, if you're an apostate, come on board. Come on over. Or if you want to come here, we've got the Jefferson Quran, where we've ripped out all the pages that tell you to kill us and tell you that you're better and infidels are worthless, and that women have no rights at all. Okay, by the way, that they hate Jews. We did start about anti-Semitism, so it's very ironic that I am telling you about the biggest anti-Semites in the world, and you're saying, come on, they're not that bad. Come on.
Well, if someone's anti-Semite, obviously I don't like that. But I can't do a, test of everyone coming to the United States to see if they agree with XYZ ideology. Obviously maybe there's some line. I guess during the Cold War we didn't allow people who were communist infiltrators or whatever, but
because war was declared and people accepted it.
Well, but even then you had this sort of McCarthyism, which really was not very productive for the United States, and we had this sort of paranoia that our country was going to be overrun by communists. And to me, this from you, it sounds a lot like McCarthyism and this sort of just fear that the government was being filled with, these communists who are infiltrating our country, and they're subverting us, and they're teaching people about communism. It sounds a lot like what Joe McCarthy said about communists, what you're saying about Muslim people.
Well, no, there's an ideological aspect to every war, and the ideological aspect to this war, which if you do read the
right, so you kind of agree with me, but
25-point plan,
okay.
It's all fronts. It's the multi-pronged attacks of Islam is the jihad of the pen, the jihad of the womb, the jihad of the sword. It's all these things that the left makes it racist. The first thing that Islam does is enlist the help of the left to be their frontline fighters for them. Okay? Hold open that gate to the town and let us all in. Okay, that's the first job.
Well,
it's not some paranoia.
Okay, well, in my opinion, excuse me. In my opinion, what the idea of turning our country into a place that discriminates against people for their religious beliefs, that is throwing open the gates and ruining the country by itself. That's abdication of what the country is, and it's the core principles of our country to say, hey, I don't like this religion, and I don't agree with it, and therefore we're going to ban immigration from these people. We're not going to treat them like human beings. We're not going to allow refugees who have nowhere else to go to come to the United States. That, to me, is abdication of what this country ought to be. It's anti-free speech. It's anti-free thought, and it's wrong in such a fundamental way. And it's everything that you're sort of saying about ruining the country. If you allow the machinery of government to discriminate against a religion, even if you don't like elements of it or large parts of it, you're giving government ammunition to do that against anyone.
Okay, I appreciate your point. My point is there are two kinds of religions.
You talk for a long time. I'll finish.
Okay, go ahead.
First it's Muslims, and then maybe it's atheists, maybe it's Jews, maybe it's people who disagree politically with the president of the United States. I think what I want to do is live in a free society. I don't view America as a place that is, white people, Christians, non-Muslims. I view America as a republic that is built on these principles of liberalism. And if we compromise our principles of liberalism, free thought, freedom of religion, and we sort of view people from, Muslims, for example, as this horrible in this sort of xenophobic way that you are, I think that by itself is a huge loss for our country. And it sort of turns us on ourselves in this sort of fear. And what we ought to have is much more of a, we have to embrace our liberal values in a real sense, freedom of thought, everything like that. Instead of, trying to close the doors to everyone else in the rest of the world, I think we need to be a country who's exporting our ideas and finding out how, we can make liberalism work with these different people from around the world. And I think that actually the fact the United States is so open to immigrants, I think it's a fantastic thing, because the United States is a country that has a population of all kinds of people from around the world who bring their skills, their hard work, and they really add a lot to this country. The diversity of America, I think, is a huge, huge benefit. And if we don't embrace that, I think we're taking a huge opportunity and we're throwing it away because we're afraid of terrorism. We're afraid of people who have different religions than us. And to me, it's not going to work. And what I see, your whole sort of perception of this, I think it's based on paranoia. Essentially, it's like McCarthyism, something like that. And I agree with you that there are lots of, areas of Sunni Islam and, that are really bad. There's lots of areas that I don't agree with. And I think we do need to be a little more strident about pointing that out and saying, hey, you need to, I don't agree with this. This isn't okay with me. I don't like the way you're treating, gay people or women. But if you rely on the government forcing people into doing that instead of using your free speech and using your ideas, it's just not going to work, and it's wrong. So that's my piece on that. But again, it just goes back to, this is not what the election is about at all. And I just don't understand how you could vote based on that. But I guess you're not coming from the United States, so it's a little bit different for you.
Okay, exactly. Let's just get back to what you just laid out there for liberalism. That is exactly the sentiment that will be exploited for a Trojan horse to walk in your front door. They are counting jihad, or not jihadists, Islamists are counting on you, letting them in with the rest of the post-enlightenment religions as if they're post-enlightenment. They're not. They are the 7th century. You want to grant them the equality to view you as not equal.
Yeah, of course.
It's suicidal. Do you think Sweden invited Muslims in because they thought any differently from you? There was someone that said exactly what you just said in Sweden when their population of Muslims was at 1%. And I think that person's not getting listened to as much anymore. It sounds really great. I agree with you. The sentiment is really great. I don't want the US to become some fascist thing where I do favor monoculturalism. I like the British Western values of treat me how I treat you. You're free to do your thing. I'm free to do mine. Islam doesn't let that, though. Once they reach a certain population, and when I don't see birth rates that justify bringing in these people, with what's happening in Michigan alone, they congregate to little ghettos where they have their own way and they command right and forbid wrong. It gets out of control in a hurry. And the reason we're talking about this with regards to the election is because most people that are Trump voters are big issue voters. The lexicographic decision making of saying this issue outweighs all others. Until we address this, the other candidate is disqualified. That is what lives in the hearts of a lot of Trump voters, is how can Hillary possibly say Islam means peace? What do they need to do? Just have barbecues where they just barbecue babies on live TV and put it on CNN and they don't censor it for you? Like they can't do any more than they're currently doing to tell you that they're at war with you.
I mean,
And
you
still want to
talking
hug them under the guise of liberalism. We have
you're talking about Muslim
because
people
if we
as,
don't, we're monsters.
Okay. Well, you talking about Muslim people as they.
Well, they collectively identify. Most Muslims that are around you that you would say, meet this guy, he's a great Muslim. By our standards, he is. In the Middle East, he's what they call a Western pig Muslim that they don't even regard as a Muslim. So I love those guys. They're great. Stay great. And they will stay great if you don't let their population of your society reach 10%. Then they'll have 4 or 5 kids, and then one of those kids will be approached online by some charismatic preacher from Saudi Arabia who says, oh my God, you've done so much halal deeds that you cannot possibly, or haram deeds that you cannot possibly do enough halal deeds to make up for it. You've been a Western pig too long, but there is one out. You could become a martyr and 70 of your family members will go to heaven too. You could be a mother of someone who commits martyrdom for the cause of Islam, could fucking rape babies the rest of her life, and she gets into paradise because her son was a jihadi. Do you know how poisonous that is? And you let Wahhabi Islam exist as an ally. Hillary knew they funded ISIS, and they fund her.
What?
That's so disqualifying.
What do you mean they fund her?
Pardon?
What do you mean they fund her?
Saudi Arabia paid $25 million to the Clinton Foundation,
right?
Funded 20% of her fucking election.
No, I didn't.
And it doesn't even, okay, they didn't?
No.
Really? Okay. Well,
no.
Okay, let's just stick with 25 million to the Clinton Foundation.
Okay?
Right. As if that's not enough. And
I mean, that goes to like charity. that all goes.
The charity where 5% of those hundreds of millions of dollars actually reaches anyone, and about 130 million goes to the day-to-day operations. They pay absolutely nothing compared to.
They're actually like one of the highest rated. They're rated higher than the American Red Cross.
I don't agree with you at all. But Red Cross is 70% of their proceeds go towards charity.
I think
Foundation's at like 5%.
88%.
88%. Oh my God. Okay. Well, send me the link to that one because I have never heard that before. And first of all, if if they are helping cure AIDS in Africa with this money,
right?
Why are they giving favors to donors? That is the most fucked up thing ever.
Oh, well,
it's a guy who gives $250,000, a lawyer from Chicago, being put on a security council when he has absolutely no clearance to be there.
Well, that's
pay for play.
No,
pay to play.
No. That's like when with a lot of these sort of jobs, like being an ambassador to another country. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about anyone who gets money gets a meeting. WikiLeaks, the guy, who was it? Was it Morocco? Was offering, I'll get $5 million if I can have Bill show up at this, or Hillary talk to Hillary on the phone.
And she said no. And she said no.
Okay, how many times has she said yes? How many times has she?
Okay, excuse me.
Yes?
Excuse me. when you have a charity, you meet with the people who gave you money, right? You have like a charity ball, and everyone who gave money comes and they meet you and they take a picture with you, and it's a way to get people to give money. But it's like,
so that's it. They're just taking pictures with her, right?
Yeah,
they're not cutting deals that can funnel uranium to Russia. They're
well,
not doing.
that was discredited.
Oh, it was?
Yeah,
because there was 3 parties working at it. You said, oh, there's no one link because it went through this guy, and then all of a sudden a gate opened up.
This is from CharityWatch.org. 88%, 12% overhead.
Okay, I'll look into that. But first of all, even if it is true that they give this money away, giving favors, selling outside influence.
No,
especially Saudi Arabia.
They didn't do that though. Here's what happens.
Oh my God, they absolutely did. You've never read a WikiLeaks in your life.
No, I looked into all of that, and you look at WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks is another. They're Russian, like they're in bed with Russia. They're alt-right. They have all these connections to incredible anti-Semites. They have connections to the dictator of Belarus. I mean, this is a horrible organization that worked with Russia to sabotage our election. I mean, this is one of the most, and people take everything they say out of context. I mean, that's the fake news, operation we have right now. We have this massive amount of lies and propaganda that gets spread by Breitbart and the Drudge Report and Cernovich and InfoWars, and people like you believe it. You believe it because you hope it's true.
Coming from the guy who thinks the Washington Post, the New Yorker, CNN are all trustworthy sources. That is fucking hilarious.
If you're going to equate
Cernovich... Those news sites only exist by calling out the bullshit you've been peppered with.
Okay, excuse me. You're going to compare InfoWars to the New York Times?
Oh, wait, now you're going to tell me about chemtrails 10 years ago, right?
Wait, InfoWars is bullshit, right?
It depends on the story.
You know what it is? It fucking is bullshit. Come on.
I think we've hit your hysterical center here.
No, come on, it is bullshit. This is a guy who was a 9/11 conspiracy theorist. You can't say that. Tell me.
Like I said, you're doing the yes-all fallacy. If he says one kooky story, that means everything else in the future has to be bad.
Well,
so what about Hillary's health is an issue, and everyone left the town, and then she collapses getting into a car.
No, excuse me. She had the flu once.
Whoa, that's what happens when you have the flu. Your neck jars upright as your legs don't respond, as in a neurological fuck up.
You're sort of just you're parroting the Russian disinformation campaign against our country. That's the heart of the problem here.
Russia shot a laser into her brain from a satellite that made her legs stop responding.
She had the flu and she fainted.
Oh, okay. I know people that faint. Their head doesn't stay jarred straight up as if they're going, come on, fucking legs, don't fail me now.
Yeah, well, you're like doing the Zapruder tape, like you're like some sort of forensic pathologist who goes through videos and like diagnoses people with, I don't know what
surface level observation actually, but
exactly. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. She had pneumonia and she fainted. And there are all these people like Paul Watson who said she's brain damaged. She has a massive neurological condition. And then
you're so big on discrediting InfoWars and all this because they have a track record of not telling the truth. But
because all they do is lie. Because all they fucking do is lie.
Does. The standard disappears for Hillary. The template you're viewing, you're such a skeptic with InfoWars. Fine.
Because all they do is talk about bullshit.
Trutherism and dude. I hear a couple of stories. Sometimes there's some entertaining shit on YouTube from Paul Joseph Watson. This is not my main source. Okay. It's entertaining, and most of it is demonstrated. They're showing fucking facts about what they're saying.
No, it's
listen. Let's focus on this though. You have a great skeptical view of InfoWars.
Right.
And then you believe everything they tell you about Hillary's health. You think that they don't have a track record of total lies and fabrication. That fucking Benghazi was a video. Didn't you hear? Didn't you hear? Oh, yeah. She didn't lie about that, did she?
No, she didn't. That was...
Oh, my God. Please defend that.
I just don't give a fuck.
Oh, Benghazi? Okay. It was a terrorist attack on our consulate in Benghazi.
Yep.
And initially we thought it was based on a video.
No one thought that.
No? Because at the time there were all...
In Hillary's circle, no one thought that.
No, they did. So
they said that, but they had proven intel that it wasn't that.
Actually, ask me and I'll tell you. Okay. So
you tell me.
Okay. At the time, there were massive protests all over the Muslim world based on this YouTube video. Right? There were massive protests in every single Muslim country, and our embassy was attacked in Egypt and in Yemen, and we thought that this terrorist attack might have been instigated from the video. We didn't know it's true. It actually could still. It's actually possible it was instigated by the video.
State Department knew.
No,
the State Department had calls all night where the phone wasn't being answered.
Dude, I'm not. Excuse me. We don't know whether it was instigated by the video right now. It could have been. We don't know. You don't know the motivation behind why someone does a terrorist attack. It could be 20% from the video, 80% just because they hate America, right? We don't know what was in their mind from a motive perspective. But obviously it was not a protest that got out of hand. That was information that we vetted through, and we found out it was not true. But that's how it works when you have a terrorist attack. You have the fog of war. You don't know exactly what happened, and it takes a while to figure out what happened. And when there's a terrorist attack under a Democrat, you have this whole infrastructure of fucking liars who make stuff up and try to create a conspiracy theory. And that's exactly what happened with Benghazi. And the reason that there were hundreds of similar things that happened in the Bush administration that didn't get a peep is that it's a Democrat in the White House. And it's just this sort of propaganda and sort of trying to take what was a normal attack from, Islamic terrorists and try to take that and make that into this whole sort of boogeyman. That was just all Republican propaganda. That's all it's ever been. And they could not find one damning thing about Hillary Clinton in that entire thing, despite the fact they've been doing a committee looking into this for 4 years. They haven't found anything. So it's nothing.
Oh my, that was good. That was polishing a turd to perfection. She was responsible for the destabilization, the gloating support of airstrikes to overthrow what she had no idea what she was unleashing in Libya. And then every other embassy is pulling their people out. They're asking for extra security. Nothing ever happened. No assets were launched to go help these people because she wanted it buried. She wanted.
That's not true. Okay, excuse me.
Like always. No, you excuse me.
No, these are facts.
Excuse me. Let's have an excuse me battle. Okay? Why don't you excuse me while I tell you that.
Okay, so here's what happened. There was no actual way that we were going to be able to go ahead and rescue these people because there was not a U.S. military base in Benghazi. The closest U.S. military assets, those were in Italy. So there was no way to go ahead and essentially like run into the rescue and save these people. So that whole argument was not true. And the fact that we didn't have enough security, of course we didn't have enough security, but that is very easy to go back in hindsight and say, oh, well, we made a mistake there because a terrorist attack happened. But if you can always Monday morning quarterback, then, how do I unmute you here? No, I guess I can't unmute you. Can I not?
Hi, everybody. Last installment of the sad truth.
Oh my God! Now I'm going to mute you too.
And we'll take it from there. Hopefully, we'll have fun.
All right. Well, I'm going to kick you out. All right. Well, I think that's the end of that. That was a spirited discussion. Oh, look, I got a tweet from
he was crazy.
Oh my God. Yeah, well, that's a hard person to talk to, man.
Yeah, man. I tried to bring Gad in to calm it down, but didn't really do much.
Yeah. I mean, there's that sort of just like, that's like why it's hard to talk to Donald Trump, because you just get these lists of incorrect information and you're just like, I got to stop you and just, clean up every single like lie you made in that long string of stuff. And it's like, this is a guy.
20 things at you, and you have to come back and dispute every single one of them, and like,
yeah, and this guy, he's a paranoiac. That's what he is.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's like, oh, the Muslims are going to come and take over our country. It's like, dude, calm down.
This is taken like 300,000 refugees has happened. No one has noticed.
Yeah, I mean, I've lived in the Twin Cities, which has a ton of Muslim refugees.
Yeah.
From Somalia, and most of them I've met, they're totally lovely people. I mean, they have some problems, but who doesn't have problems? Who's
Exactly.
recent immigrant community in the United States? But man, I mean, like that's what we're dealing with these people. It's like I was saying, it's like McCarthyism. It's people who don't actually, they have this sort of attachment to this, gloom and doom theory about the world, and they have this magical way of saving everybody. It's like this crusader going forth into the world to save us from the dark forces of Islam. I mean,
it's so stupid. Oh my god!
I was trying to be, fair. Maybe I was not trying.
You just got frustrated after repeated interruption and.
Yeah, well, I muted him when he was like talking over me, but. And I didn't know how to unmute him, so I just kicked him out. But it's like Benghazi. It's like or like Hillary Clinton, like, Saudi Arabia. It's like
she went to court and destroyed everyone. I mean, Benghazi is like a complete joke.
No, that's what we're dealing with in this world. That's the Trump supporters. They have their own version of facts, and when someone's like. They're bringing up Paul Joseph Watson, and I got to listen to this person. It's like you're defending Paul Joseph Watson. It's like, dude, your ability to perceive information it sucks. It really sucks. It's not going well for you.
Yeah, and that chat he had with that guy, that alt-right guy, he was basically a neo-Nazi. Everything he said was I mean. Along the lines of what you hear when you hear Trump's or actually before you slip Hitler's speeches.
Yeah, no, it was straight out of Hitler,
Oh my god, look at these guys, cats. Excuse me.
Yeah,
you're rated more than me, man. It's shocking.
Yeah, well, I guess I shouldn't have talked to these people to begin with.
Yeah, it's not worth it, but. It's a fun time after Thanksgiving. How was your Thanksgiving, by the way?
Oh, it was good. I was just hanging out with my relatives in Manhattan, the old homestead. My grandparents they have a 4-bedroom apartment on in the Upper West Side of Manhattan. So that's got to be the place everyone gathers. In the scheme of things in New York apartments.
Yeah. Send Lang to Africa.
Oh my god! Well, I guess I got all these terrible people listening to me. Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Look at this chat. I'm looking back at this thing.
Oh my god.
Ugh.
Ross said he was a linebacker. I said that's as credible as you benching 250.
Yeah. Well, I gotta go to the gym and see if I can do like a max bench press pretty soon.
Oh man, that'd be shocking. 250. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't do a max bench press every time I go, obviously. So
it's true. It's not good for you. Yeah.
So I do bench press 225 almost.
That's crazy impressive. I can't do that anywhere near that.
Yeah, well, it's just years of doing it. You get used to it. You slowly ramp up. But yeah, I mean that's a very frustrating conversation to have. And I guess I don't think he's anti-Semite though. I guess. My perception of him is not that he's anti-Semite. It's more that he's like an anti-Muslim, paranoiac and bigot.
Oh yeah, he's a ton of other things. He's stupid. I mean,
no, he's very stupid. I think that's the sort of unifying thing. He's a very stupid guy, and he's not very informed about the world. I mean, if you're comparing Breitbart and Infowars to the Washington Post and New York Times, I mean, just get the fuck out of here. I mean, and to be charitable, he's not a smart, informed guy. And I understand not everyone's smart, not everyone's informed. I mean, it's hard to be as smart as me. I mean, that's a real heavy lift. But but like
people are gonna get mad at that. Watch his chat blow up.
No, but he's not an anti-Semite. I don't think he's a horrible human being. He's racist. He's probably racist against Muslim people or whatever. But he's not some evil person who hates Jews. I don't think he is. And I think his friend, Langston, he's never not an anti-Semite either. So I got to apologize for trolling him about that for months at a time. But you know, I guess they're not anti-Semites. I probably shouldn't have said that, but you know, some people, they get your last nerve. You know.
Alex, here's a question. Who do you think's better, Infowars or TYT? I would say TYT by far.
TYT, of course, yeah, definitely.
Like Alex Jones is just comedy. I mean, TYT can actually report sometimes. I mean,
yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, like Cenk Uygur. I mean, he's obviously he takes all that stuff too far, but he's you know he's not insane.
Yeah, he's not insane. Yeah,
yeah, he's too liberal for me. But I bet, you know, and his whole show is a little bit propaganda, but he's probably not the most. It's not the same level as someone who just completely makes up like Bigfoot and you know all this bullshit that Infowars does, right?
The people buy those Infowars talking points. I see them spreading all the time. It's
disinformation. It's this whole sort of disinformation fake news movement, and
and they pump so much stuff out. It's insane.
No, it's these people who they believe that Hillary Clinton is a Satanist, pedophile, Wiccan, Satanist, like child raping murderer. It's like, okay,
like the top dudes that were news publishers for Trump were in like Eastern Europe. They weren't even in the U.S. and they just spent hours.
They're in Macedonia.
Yeah,
little like Macedonian village, and you say something to these idiots, you know, this kind of idiot, and there are people who are much dumber than this guy. I mean, believe me, there are people who are much dumber and less informed than him.
Oh yeah.
And they'll just like, ooh, I'm not going to read the article. I'm just going to retweet it. Hillary Clinton is a murderer and she killed Seth Rich from the DNC, and it's like, holy crap, man!
Oh my! When he started talking about George, I knew it was the beginning of the end because George Soros is just the weirdest talking point I've ever heard.
Well, it's like he's responsible for the Holocaust because he didn't
my aunt works for him. This guy, he's just like some old guy. He's like
George Soros. He's given a lot. He's a great philanthropist. He's given so much money to.
He's done a lot.
No, like in Eastern Europe, he funds all these great organizations in Eastern Europe, and he gave so much money to beat Bush in 2004. Like,
he
must have spent like $25 million to elect John Kerry. And anyone who does that, I mean, you're a mensch. You're a fucking mensch. You've done something very good for the world, and you know it's the Koch brothers. You know, they give a little bit of money to charity, but you know they're on the side of evil. So I got to make a distinction there. And also this whole thing of like he's a hedge fund manager. If you're really successful at being a hedge fund manager, that means you won trades and people lost on the other end of the trade. So obviously there's a lot of people who, you know, they're on the other end of it. And the whole idea of like arbitrage and the financial markets is that capital is sent to the most efficient user of it. And it's a marketplace. So there is going to be winners and losers to that. And demonizing him for that, I don't get. I mean, I'm not an expert on the guy, but he seems like totally fine.
And I don't know where the whole Black Lives Matter thing comes in. I mean, he's not. I mean, it's so odd.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that Black Lives Matter is this massive evil organization. I mean, they have
it's
a lot of stuff.
Joke, really. I mean,
a lot of stuff I don't agree with that comes from, you know, some of these people. Like, obviously, there are people on the fringes of every movement, and that movement, even the center of it, I don't agree with a lot of the stuff they say.
Oh yeah,
and a lot of it's overblown, but. The idea that they're like ruining society and they're this giant fifth column that's gonna like ruin American society. If you think about like if the Black Lives Matter, you know, like campaign plan gets put in place, it's like doing policing a little bit differently, right? It's a little bit different policing. It's these small things that
and it's not like Obama and Hillary speak like the leaders of Black Lives Matter.
No.
Obama very measured when talking about that issue. I mean,
yeah, and obviously there are problems with police in plenty of neighborhoods in the world, and the United States has its problem with racist cops and police use of force going too far.
You just said that the chat's gonna explode. What? Nobody? Yes, there's been a history of racist cops. People just don't understand that. It's not
it's like if you know New York City cops, a lot of them are racist.
NYPD, LAPD. I mean, it's not like.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you go into some of these police scandals. Like you go to like the Rampart scandal from Los Angeles. It's like,
oh my god, horrific. I mean,
yeah. So the idea that these things should be reformed and there's really legitimate issues people have with them. If you can't put that on board with the critiques of Black Lives Matter and there's sort of more sort of leftist kind of crazy elements of them, you don't understand the conversation people need to be having. And obviously, when someone goes out of line, you should say, hey, I don't believe that. That's a little bit too far. Let me explain to you my problem with that. But when you sort of label them as like a terrorist organization or stuff like that, that is insane. And it's so unhelpful. It's so unhelpful.
The question that you had with that guy is you couldn't go over one thing because every single step he took when speaking about any issue, there was 3,000 things he was just totally wrong about. And you can't stop him at every single point and analyze. So it's just going to be a shouting match between you two.
Yeah, well, if you can listen to Donald Trump and think that he's coherent, you're not listening to the same guy I am, or there's something fucking wrong with your head.
Incredible.
Like, listen to this. He cannot form a sentence that makes any kind of sense or incorporates the facts we know about any policy. And he has never done that. He's never spent like a paragraph making sense on anything. And then he has these moments where like, nuclear warming. It's called nuclear, folks. We got to get rid of nuclear warming. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Holy shit. Oh
my God. Did you hear the Times interview with Trump?
I can't bring myself to like look at the whole thing, but I've glanced at it. I've seen some of the quotes of it. It's hard for me to like just even like listen to the fact that he's president. The
bright side is so slim. Apparently he's not going to prosecute Hillary, that's for sure. And
but it's on his decision. It's on his decision. And I think he also went back and said he's not even sure about that.
Yeah, and he's
I hope he does. I hope he prosecutes
the Paris Agreement.
Well, yeah. Well, I saw his global warming answer, which was totally incoherent. And
oh yeah, I mean,
crystal clear water. I own a golf course. I'm an environmentalist. It's like
yeah. So silly.
It's like, oh my God. That's
insane.
I mean, people who don't believe that global warming is real. I mean, you don't listen.
I think a lot of these people do, but they don't even see it as an important issue. They think SJWs and Black Lives Matter is a bigger issue than fucking global warming.
Yeah, and the whole Muslim thing. I mean, I don't want to go into this whole sort of conversation with him, but like, the Muslim population of the United States are actually like more well off than the rest of the United States. They're actually like a very professional group of people on the whole, and they're not really extreme. You know, they're not like And you look at France, like France has these, sort of like suburbs of Paris where nobody has a job and there's, just multi-generational poverty and they have all these sort of social problems that also feed into that. But
and you know who's leading in France for election? Le Pen.
Yeah, I was looking at betting on that election.
I was talking to my granddad who's like trying to help the Liberal Party there, and it's very scary. It's the similar Trump movement is happening there.
Yeah, well, I think eventually whoever gets into the runoff with Le Pen is going to win. I think it's probably going to be, the Conservative Party.
Yeah, but you never know that shy effect that Trump had. You can never know.
Yeah, but I think if you add the socialist voters to the people. If it was Sarkozy, I would assume he would win.
Oh yeah, of course.
He's pretty racist.
Oh my God.
He's a pretty racist guy, so I think he could peel off some of the Le Pen voters who wanted someone who's mildly racist, not full on just mad. Yeah. And then you look at Le Pen and her connections to Trump. I mean, this is an awful, and she's almost as bad as Trump, I would say.
Well, racism-wise, she's worse than Trump.
Oh yeah,
but
France is so racist. It's like people don't realize how racist France is, but man, that country has problems.
Oh my God, and anti-Semitism as well.
Yeah, they don't like people who aren't French.
Yeah, there's a lot of elitism and classism, and this is coming from someone who's 1/4 French. There's a lot of it.
Yeah, and you go to Paris, and you're like, I kind of get why you feel that way, France.
Yeah, there's a lot of strong tradition holding, and that's in England.
Yeah, it's very different from the United States in the fact that there's a real sense of what it means to be French. I talked to them a little bit about this. Like, being French is a very heavy, idea people have in their head, and it's very hard for someone who doesn't fit into all the boxes to call themselves French and have that identity. And the sort of more vague American identity is much, it's much more suited towards immigration.
Yeah, and people are going so against, like, the whole fear mongering about the refugees is just not only is it callous, it's just wrong. People don't understand that we've already taken thousands of refugees, right? They just don't even know. You don't notice it because it's like sand on a beach. There's so many people in the United States, and if they're spread throughout, you don't notice it.
Yeah.
If you're in Germany, which is a smaller country, and you're taking 2 million, yeah, you're going to notice it. But there's size and scale matters, and people lose sight of that.
Yeah, and when it comes to refugees, actually, one of my friends in high school was a refugee from Sudan. So for me, like it's very personal to see these people who have nowhere to go and their country's been destroyed by war, and to not have compassion for those people and to sort of
my God,
view them
if you watch any of the Syria videos, any of the, and you have that ridiculous position of just close. I mean, you're so callous.
Yeah, and also when I get into this guy, it's like you don't actually believe in the liberal project of the United States or Western culture. You don't believe in the Enlightenment, essentially.
Yep.
You don't have faith that the United States is a country that can bring in people of different, religions and backgrounds, and they'll assimilate into our culture. You have no faith in your own, your own people and their ability to, convince other people and assimilate other people into their culture.
Yeah, I mean, the U.S. should be taking far more refugees than it is now, and
yeah, and there's also the idea refugees are actually very hardworking people because they're very glad that they've been taken in by a country, and the United States does need immigration. It's like getting immigration, and you have countries like Russia where the average age is a lot higher than it is in the United States, and they don't have that population pyramid going in a sane direction. Eventually, you're going to have a point where the entire country is a bunch of people who are on benefits who are 75 years old, and there's not enough workers to pay for them. So you do want immigration. It's a huge benefit to the country.
Economically, it's great. But okay, change subject. This guy says, "Hey Raf, how many refugees are staying with you, dipshit?" I'm not sure what he's trying to get at, but I suspect he thinks I don't know the dangers of having refugees. I actually, my aunt is housing a Iraqi refugee who had who was alive during the Saddam Hussein regime and had his tongue cut off.
Oh.
And it's like you see him, and it is the most. I mean, you feel nothing but horror and
oh my God,
and to deny him a life, a Western life, because of the chance of 1 in 1 million sexual assaults.
Yeah, the sexual assault angle I don't really get, but
it's so weird.
There are actually like legitimate points about immigration. There's a question of how many you can take. And,
of course, yes, yeah.
And your society has to deal with them in a certain way. And it needs to be the civil society to sort of deal with these people. And it is a complicated question, but but the paranoia and the fear and Muslims are going to are taking over the world. No, they're not, dude.
And there's a lot of like true bigotry. I mean, people have got the safety because of Islam, and people think it's just religion. You can't just speak. So like when that guy said, Muslims are the problem, you can't use that rhetoric and be taken seriously by anyone of importance. You just can't say that.
Yeah, exactly. And these are human beings. These are the people. These are people who are doctors and cab drivers. They're people who live with you in the world, and to sort of lump them all in that way, it's very. It's bigotry. It's bigotry for a group of people. And you can have any kind of problem with Christianity or Islam, but not having basic solidarity with other people because you disagree with them on religion, that's taking anti-theism to a whole new level. And you go back to like the original anti-theist, Christopher Hitchens.
Yeah. Here's
a guy who was a huge he spoke out for Muslims,
He was a Kurdistan supporter, huge. He lived there.
Yeah. I do think he would be running around saying like, no refugees.
Oh my God. He would be the biggest supporter, and people have no understanding of that.
Yeah. It's like, I guess it's a lot. Maybe it's like people are sheltered because, I've lived in just very diverse places in America. So maybe I'm just more used to the fact that.
Same. Let me say this. Chat, do you think Hitchens would support Hillary or Trump? Would have.
Yeah.
And you watch his answer, Alex, and you'll be just.
I mean, the fact that anyone could say Trump, I mean, it's
I mean,
absolutely, it's laughable.
they have no idea what actually intelligent people think or see in him.
No, well, they're listening to these like just nitwits and like these racist nitwits like Tommy Robinson. It's like,
Yeah,
dude, that guy he's a racist nitwit. He was part of like the British Nazi Party.
yeah, the EDL.
Yeah, and it's like you're trying to like bring this guy up as this like great speaker on the subject of immigration and religious comedy in the world. It's like, come on, man, like give me a break.
Yeah, it's weird how people have become heroes in this movement that shouldn't be heroes. I mean, we had reasonable speakers like Ayaan Hirsi Ali, like Sam Harris, and now anyone that says anything bad about Islam is just welcomed as a hero. And you have to check their credentials before just doing that. Who is this person? Well, where are they coming from? Just because you shit on Islam doesn't mean you have any importance or worth. I mean,
yeah, and I think people do like they look at the text of the. I think Sam Harris is guilty of this a little bit too. They look at the text of the religion and they assume people are as literal as they are about how they take the religion. A lot of people do not literally look, or like people look at Judaism and they think that Jews like they take the Old Testament and they want to like reenact it somehow. They want to like slaughter the Amalekites, and it's like that's not what any Jewish person believes or interprets their book to be.
And see, but people are going to take what we just said as we think there's no problem in the Middle East.
No, it's like
what we're saying is that we're saying people are so all or nothing. You're either with us or against us, but there is a middle ground that can be explored with that issue.
Yeah, and the idea that you wouldn't engage the people who are Muslim, but they're not politically minded about their religion, and you wouldn't engage them and talk to them about and actually engage them with the issues you disagree with them on in a constructive way. The fact that you just say, oh, they're coming to our country and they're going to ruin it and they're going to bring their their awful disgusting religion and they're going to outbreed us, and it's like the whole like population fear. That is it's like Freudian.
It's also super arbitrary because dynamics change of the world. I mean, there's extremely large space in the U.S. There's places where there's no people. There's
but it's so Freudian. It's like you're like fear of these males coming to like be near your women, right?
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh my God, the Muslims are gonna come and rape all of our women. It's like Birth of a Nation, It's
like Old Testament shit, like covet thy neighbor's wife.
Yeah, and it's this very primal male fear. It's like a pack. It's like they're the other pack of like gorillas, and they're gonna get their genes near our pure.
Okay. So this guy just said, people speaking for Hitch, Hitch would have hated Iran's leadership and would have spit on the Iran deal that Hillary supports. First, I'm not sure if that's true. And second, if that is true, that wouldn't even matter.
Yeah, well,
he is a moron.
Take like Alan Dershowitz, who's a huge opponent of the Iran deal. He was a huge Hillary supporter.
Oh
right?
Yeah, because he's a smart man. I mean, like my family hated him when they went to Harvard with him. He said he was an absolute dickhead.
Oh, yes.
You can't deny that he's a really smart man.
Oh, I mean, he's totally brilliant, and he's very pro-Israel, and he actually wrote a very good book on Israel and.
Oh yeah, defense. I've read that. Yeah,
the very very good digestible book on the subject, but he was not on the Trump train because he's a smart guy. I mean, it's tough to like break it down to that level. It's very elitist, but it's like I don't know anyone who's not an idiot who didn't support Hillary.
It's so hard to explain, but that whole thing, you're being elitist, yes, the smarter people in general tend to support Democrats more. There's numerous studies of this, and in this election, it was way more than that because it was a Democrat versus a narcissist. I mean,
it wasn't Mitt Romney.
Yeah, I mean, Mitt Romney would have been. I would vote for him way before I would even think of Trump. I mean,
Yeah, and I'm no fan of Mitt Romney. I totally agree with you
Oh
on that.
yeah, I mean we've gone so the U.S. has gone so far to the right. It's incredible. The fact that Bernie Sanders was seen. I mean, I'm not a Bernie bro, but Bernie Sanders was seen as some insane socialist. Like Bernie Sanders is center right in Europe.
I
So,
don't.
mm,
I think he's
what do
pretty
you
much
think
the
of that
same as
one?
the British Labour Party. I don't. Is he that different from Corbyn at the end of the day?
No, oh, he is a lot.
On foreign policy,
Economically, nowhere near. Nowhere near.
yeah. Well, I, I, I don't know. I think the actual policies Bernie would implement would not be close to Europe, obviously,
Yeah,
because
the taxes. I mean, they're just so much. It's not even close. I mean,
yeah. Well, what people don't understand is a lot of these policies are very path dependent. It's so much dependent on what you did before. It's the status quo, and you can change it slightly, but you can't like totally overturn the apple cart and change every single program overnight. It doesn't work that way.
the one thing that has to change, and I know, is like, did you see Eric Holder on Bill Maher?
No.
Oh, he was on. He was great. He was adamant against the just getting rid of the electoral college, and I completely agree. I think there should be a push just for that. No reformation within it. Just get rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's to me that's the simplest thing in the world. It should be, a straight up popular vote, and the person who has more votes should win.
Yeah.
The idea that there's anyone arguing against that, people make these really just canards about that. Like, there's not going to be enough. Indiana will get enough say. Wyoming won't get enough say. It's like they'll get exactly as much say as the amount of population they have.
It's so they think we're still riding on horseback to deliver the messenger of who has the most votes. Like as if we're still in the beginnings of the republic. It's so silly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, let me look at the chat here. Let's see if there's any horrible things about me. Why we need to help the Somalians. Actually, one of my college professors was Somalian. He's a really great guy.
Yeah, it's so. First of all, we're not taking. There's not that. Somalia isn't the biggest place. It's usually Eritrea and Syria right now are the biggest spots for refugees at the moment. Not Somalia.
Yeah, and they're not pouring into our country. It's 10,000 Syrian refugees. It's I mean, there's like more people. It's like just like a few blocks around me.
I don't know anyone who knows anyone who's a Syrian refugee. I mean, and there's probably been in the last 3 years, there's been a couple 100,000 in the last like 5 years.
With the United States, maybe Iraq as well. I mean, I think
no, I'm not talking about just Syria. I'm talking about Iraq, Syria, Eritrea. I'm talking about North Africa and Middle East.
Yeah, well, I think they're kind enough not to put them into a place where the housing is so expensive.
Yeah. They put them in Middle America. I mean.
Yeah, and then they learn from our great Middle American values, which is probably a good thing. Probably a good thing.
Surrounded by people that despise them.
Yeah, well, I think the Trump supporters. Most of those people are not going to kill them. I don't think. Probably not.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, you're both very boring in your mindless agreement to lefty talking points. Long disproved. Oh my god. Smart people lock themselves in echo chambers and shitty tactics to describe the point of these. Good job, guys. Well, call it. Universities are usually they all agree about Trump. Well,
it's like the idea of elitism. If you're a person who's like read the news and is informed about politics, you can understand that Paul Joseph Watson is completely bonkers out of his mind, and he's a liar. He's a fabulist. You just make stuff up. Yeah. Anyone who's informed can tell you that. You go to any university in the United States, you go to any political science department, there's not going to be one professor who says, oh, well, actually, this guy's having a lot of good points.
Yeah. I mean, you get the most conservative guy at Harvard. Yeah. They will not even think about voting for Trump. They will.
No, I don't. I'd like to see the Harvard faculties, or I bet look at the Harvard Business School and Law School faculties.
Oh, believe me, I don't like the Republican clubs as much as the next guy, but they have enough sanity and rationality to never even think of voting for Trump. They would laugh at you.
It's kind of funny if you go back and you read the Federalist Papers and you read James Madison and you read Alexander Hamilton. The idea that we would have this, like the masses, the hordes of the unwashed masses would be the people making decisions.
Some guy wants to be let in.
Oh yeah?
Just
Who is it?
Slender Chuck.
No, let me in again. Let me in. I gave him a link, didn't I? Should I give him another one?
You should do it.
Talk to him again. Same guy?
Is it the same guy?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
All right.
Thanksgiving. We're being nice.
Yeah, and I kind of did it accidentally, actually.
Yeah, I was arguing with John Davidson about there's a lot of people that say that you call people anti-Semitic unjustly, and I didn't see it, and I think your view is, which is a view that a professor or someone of high position would share, is that if you associate yourself with characters that are anti-Semitic, you yourself, it's hard to not see that you aren't. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, to me, if you have no problem with people who are completely anti-Semitic,
exactly,
and you have no problem with the fact that they're, saying just the most vile, disgusting things about Jewish people. Ugh.
Yeah, and then this guy I was talking to said, well, Hitch had a white supremacist on. Yeah, and he challenged him every single second he spoke when he did that interview. I mean, I heard that at that live stream that they were appeasing him in every moment.
Yeah, I listened to that, and I listened to it again earlier, and there's no way to spin what that guy was saying.
Oh my god! So did you send this guy a link?
I did. I did. But it goes to the sort of like frog meme thing too. If you're hanging out with people who send Jews, pictures of ovens, and are have all this like Nazi iconography, and are hanging out on these like Nazi alt-right message boards or whatever, or like,
oh, but Alex, that's a joke. They're just joking. They're trying to get a rise out of them.
It's like, that's bad in itself. It's like,
yeah.
And a lot of those people are serious. I'm pretty sure. Like, if you were like actually joking, you would not like send like thousands of tweets to every Jewish journalist in the United States. Like, you wouldn't do that if you were not an anti-Semite.
Oh,
sorry.
Wait, they want to let Taz in. Do you know who Taz is?
Yeah, he's insane. No,
Taz is like some dude you would see in like the British National Party riots. Like, I'm not even joking.
No, that he's like schizophrenic.
I asked him where Obama was born, and he just said not America. You didn't really have an answer.
No, he's a schizophrenic.
Yeah, we're not letting that one.
Yeah, well, didn't work. I guess my setting a link didn't work. No?
It didn't.
Didn't work. Sorry. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a computer guy.
Send, you know what, just for fun, send Taz the link. Let's do it.
Does he follow me on Twitter? I think probably blocked him on Twitter.
Just unblock him. Let's be nice. Thanksgiving, we'll be nice, and we'll do it.
What's his Twitter?
Oh, because I blocked him as well. What's your Twitter? Okay, just go in your block list, which you go to settings and you see blocked accounts.
No, apparently if you kick someone out, they can't come back in. Oh well.
Let's. Oh, Taz doesn't want to be in it.
All right, well that's fine. But I was saying before, if you read the Federalist Papers, you read our founding documents. Alexander Hamilton, James Madison. Those people are not. Those are elitists. Those are classic elitists.
Yeah.
And the idea that when we interpret events like, the Iran deal or the election, the fact that we would look to people who are educated and understand the issues and are have some sort of credibility in their profession to talk about it and have ethics, that's not a crazy idea. It's not elitist.
Yeah.
It's not elitist to say that Paul Joseph Watson is a conspiracy theory crazy nut. It's just a fact. You know, at some point you'd be like, oh, you're an elitist if you don't believe in, you know, you don't want to talk to, you know, if you don't give credence to flat earthers. I'm like, no, we know this issue. It's been decided. You know, 9/11 was not an inside job. Boom.
I mean, there's a reason why, like, Sam Harris would never have on Richard Spencer on his podcast, even if you try and disagree with him, because
oh my God, my Twitter friend Ina had Robert Spencer, excuse me, the anti-Islam guy.
Oh, really?
On her podcast. Yeah, it's gonna come out soon.
Oh, I want to see. Yeah, she's cool. I love how she challenged Sam Harris on Gad Saad and Dave Rubin.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't think
Sam is wrong on that. Sam is not. I mean,
yeah. Well, I like confusing Richard Spencer and Robert Spencer.
The best dude was the guy who works for the Times, Richard Spencer, the Middle East correspondent. He changed his pinned tweet and description to "I am not the neo-Nazi Richard Spencer."
Oh my God, it's pretty fun in the people you meet on Twitter.
Oh my God.
I'm sure he must get so much crap for that.
Oh my God, but there's a reason. Like, Sam doesn't have on like guys like Daniel Pipes, right? Daniel Pipes, he is so like barely controversial compared to that guy Langston had to hang out with, but he is just enough controversial that that Sam won't do a podcast with him. Right? Imagine if Sam did a podcast with that alt-right guy. I mean, it would be crazy.
Yeah, well, you couldn't have a conversation with someone like that because at that level of just, you know, Hitler-like anti-Semitism, I couldn't have a conversation with that guy. If he was in person, I'd kick his ass. Honestly, like I cannot. It'd be hard to have, you know, a normal conversation with somebody who thinks that you're a parasite on society because of your ethnic background.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's just people want to debate very basic points that should be understood by everyone. I mean, when someone starts spilling out conspiracy theories that are just so absurd,
Pizzagate. Oh my God,
dude! You know the good ideas versus bad ideas Twitter page. You know, dude, they serious. I don't know if it has to be a troll account.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
The Pizzagate, like investigate Pizzagate.
Oh my God, yeah. What is that account?
Good ideas versus bad ideas.
Yeah, I saw that like that meme they had up there.
It's become a Trump account.
Yeah, I'll read it out here. Here we go. Where is this?
Oh no.
Pizzagate. An investigation into a ring of pedophilia, satanic ritual abuse, human sacrifice, cannibalism involving Podestas, Clinton, Hillary Clinton, George Soros, and David Brock. Also the DNC, stemming from a pizza place run by James Alefantis. It's like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
Cannibalism. You think all these like Democratic like lobbyists and lawyers in DC
I'm not joking. I
cannibals?
think
Satanic
believes that.
It's like human sacrifice, it's like, what the fuck?
Oh my God.
No, people do believe this, and it goes to show they're in their own world of facts. They live in alternate reality. To believe that, you must live in an alternate reality.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, what was the
evidence for that? The evidence for that whole theory was that an Italian American guy who's this huge foodie, who's like this huge chef, mentioned pizza. That was their evidence, and they said, aha, we can finally prove that he's a pedophile, warlock, Satanist who eats people because he mentioned pizza. And you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? And this is like, Cernovich and Paul Watson and WikiLeaks, all these alt-right bullshit.
Dude, Dave Rubin actually had on Mike Cernovich.
Yeah, this guy believes in raping women. He's a rape
I couldn't
apologist.
believe it when I saw it. It was insane.
Yeah. I'm a weak supremacist. I'm weak. Well, I'm not weak in the bench press.
Yeah, 250.
Good gracious.
Weak. Did you say that? Oh my god.
Yeah. I kicked him out accidentally. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry I called him an
No, that's a
anti-Semite.
conspiracy. It's a false flag. You're saying it's accidental. It was on purpose. This is obvious.
Yeah, WikiLeaks is alt-right. Of course it is. Yeah, they've tweeted anti-Semitic stuff. They're like, they've had connections
Ross is scared to get in because, Ross was apparently a linebacker. And
I was a linebacker. Uh-oh.
a linebacker that's like a midget who is no size to him.
Yeah, well,
need picture for proof. That's an outrageous statement. Did you watch? Did you watch the Redskins game today?
I did.
Did you see that catch by Jordan Reed?
Yeah.
That one-handed grab. Oh my god, what a beast!
No, he's one of the most athletic tight ends you'll ever see.
Oh my, he's so. And what's his name? Elliott. Fuck. The Cowboys running back.
Oh, Ezekiel Elliott.
Oh my god, what a beast season that guy's having. I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah, no, I actually do have my basketball game on in the background here. I'm listening on mute.
Who's playing?
Arizona. That's my team, Arizona Wildcats. We have this guy from Finland I think he's going to be a top 5 pick in the draft.
Look, he's really tall and can shoot.
Yeah, well, he's got Lauri Markkanen. He's like a true 7-footer, but he can hit the three and he can drive like a guard. He's like Dirk Nowitzki or something. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's a lot of Eastern European dudes like that.
He's like the next Porzingis.
Oh man, but Ezekiel Elliott. It's more that offensive line that the Cowboys have that makes him so good.
I saw him play at Ohio State. He's pretty damn good.
He's legit.
Yeah, but if you're behind that offensive line, you're going to be like a top 5 running back basically. He's just way above that level.
Oh wait. Remember Dan, the guy we met in New York?
Oh yeah.
He's Sagan worshiper. He's in the chat.
Yeah, good guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I've got quite an audience here. I guess it's all like alt-right Nazis, I think. But
yeah, I know. It's dude, could you believe that Deppen got hate for that video he made? I mean, that was the most tepid, obvious statements that he made. I mean,
yeah, that was literally people zig heiling. I mean,
yeah. Oh my, it's like, you traitor, you go ahead. It's like, what?
Oh, I'm looking at the chat. Jews run USA Media.
U.S. media. Well, it was first U.S., now it's USA. Oh.
We run both of them. Yeah. I don't understand when people say that. Like, a lot of people in media aren't Jewish. And it's disproportionately Jewish, but the media's in New York and LA, so.
They're also disproportionately Nobel winners, music makers. I mean, it's
yeah, people all had to get whatever job they want. Do you think there was like some, amazing journalist who applied? They're like, no, we're only taking Jews today.
It's actually the opposite. If you're Jewish, it's harder to get into Ivy League schools. I mean, it's just
aborted interview. Oh, he called you transgender.
That's
that's hilarious. On 930. Guy bench press 930 pounds.
Oh, 90 pounds, 930 pounds.
That's
a little much, Ross. I mean, I think you get the 45 bar up a couple times, but
yeah, I doubt that. Well, if we're not gonna get any of these Nazis in,
1 second, we're gonna wait a little bit, but so what'd you have? What food did you have? Give me the list.
Oh, we had the standard, we had, potatoes and stuffing, turkey, cranberry sauce. we had some pies, and I'll eat a lot of liquor because that's really the most important thing is the liquor.
Yeah, not many, but
To be with my family. I guess you don't have this. You're not old enough to actually appreciate this. But hang out with your family, you need to be kind of liquored up.
yeah, I mean, my whole family was little bit drunk, but I stayed
Well, that's
calm.
good. It's good. Well, I go to my grandparents, and they're they're pretty damn old. So
Choose from the Federal Reserve. What is okay? What? And I bet I'll put my life on it that this guy Henry, whatever, he loves Ron Paul, and he's just learned about the Federal Reserve through YouTube videos. What is this whole Federal Reserve, Ron Paul, libertarian movement? Is that where like this whole alt right shit started?
yeah, well, the whole Ron Paul thing.
He's a moron. I mean,
Well, a lot of that stuff kind of goes back to like the 1950s and these people like the John Birch Society and some of these.
isn't Pat Robertson was one of the big influence?
Yeah, well, but there was this whole idea behind the gold standard is the only way to sort of keep currency at a certain level. And it's interesting. There's a really cool book written about this, about how the gold standard kind of created the Great Depression because it didn't allow countries to do any monetary policy. Right. So like when you have a economic panic, what you want to do is you lower interest rates and you increase the money supply, right?
Yeah.
So if you have a gold standard, you can't do that. You have a fixed exchange rate that's based on supply of gold. And it's kind of actually impossible to have a gold standard today because the price of gold does not equal the amount of money in the world, not even close. So you'd actually have to reduce the money supply in the entire world by a tremendous amount, which would ruin the economy. So to do it, like the first step would be like, let's destroy the economy. That'd be day one. But the Ron Paul people, like, holy cow, they are just, it's like a cult.
There's so many of them on the internet. I think Joe Rogan helped that. I mean, it's so weird. I mean, this whole Federal Reserve thing. I mean,
well, it's something that people don't understand how it works. They don't know what it is. For starters, they don't understand what monetary policy is. They don't understand what the discount window is. They don't understand what the basic elements of a central bank and what it's supposed to do, or even what a bank is in general. They don't get that basic premise. Yeah. So it sounds like it's this private organization, and they affect the economy, and there's all these guys named Bernanke involved. And actually, I've gone on a tour of the New York Federal Reserve, and they have this they have the biggest amount, they have the largest gold vault in the entire world. So I guess that kind of fact seems very nefarious. Like there's this giant vault of gold in this bank in downtown Manhattan, and it's run by these non-government organization. I guess it does sound kind of nefarious, but if you learn about it and you study it and you understand what it is, it just kind of basic stuff.
People just want to get simple answers to things. Big macro and microeconomics is hard for people to grasp, and saying, oh, I like Ron Paul and just get rid of the banks and the Federal Reserve and that will solve everything. Really simples it all. It makes it all much more simpler and allows you to navigate your way through it.
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny because every country in the world has a central bank, right? It's not like some weird thing the United States has with the Federal Reserve. It would be called the National Bank, but we actually got rid of that. So that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
Oh, the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion. Ugh.
What?
You know what that is?
Part of that?
Yeah, that was a Russian hoax.
Was that your frat?
What?
Was that your frat?
Yeah, it was my frat. No, that's this it's basically a book, that was created by the Russian secret police to justify anti-Semitism. And it's this book of this cabal of evil Jews deciding how they're going to, ruin Europe and Russia. I think it was from the 1880s or something around then. And it was sort of used to sort of foment this huge oppression of Jews in Russia. And that's why so many Jews moved from Russia to the United States in the 1880s, 1890s period, because there was this huge just spout of anti-Semitism at that point, and that's sort of the crowning sort of text, and it gets used by all these different anti-Semites, from Hamas to neo-Nazis to this fuck.
Dude, oh my god, it's so. I mean, it's weird because the internet is so populated with those type of people, and you don't see many people like you and me. You don't see enthusiastic liberal people. You know what I mean?
No, it's a waste of your time to talk to these people. But the fact is, it's like the top-down media is kind of, it doesn't work for social media, right? You can't have a top-down media because everything is bottom-up now. And when you have bottom-up, it's the masses. It's the lowest common denominator. I mean, that's what Trump is. He's the lowest common denominator. It's bread and circuses for the dumbest people in the country, and the people who have this irrational anger and hatred, and it's not the the conservative guy with the pipe and the tweed jacket who's talking about lowering taxes and regulations. It's this foe with the mouth crazies, and that's what we have to deal with. I think that's the message to me. We're in this world now where we have to actually take these people on, and we have to find a way to shut them down, get rid of InfoWars, get rid of, have Facebook just shut these people up. And we need to have, we need to be able to create a media that actually communicates accurate, facts about the world. I mean, I don't know if you've ever heard this quote. This is from a former senator from New York. You're entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. That's Daniel Patrick Moynihan. And it's so true. And that's the problem we have. It's people think they're entitled to their own set of facts. And it's like, choose your own adventure, choose your own facts about the world, and just go and run with it. It's so much fun. It's just, it's like, it's a magical adventure. Well, you know what? No, it's not. No, it ain't.
And it's ended up with Trump in the White House.
A fucking idiot. That's exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. They don't realize what they've done. I mean, these people in chat may think right now, oh, it's all fun. We're having someone that makes liberals get mad. But do you really want to have a State of the Union speech that Trump is going to give? Do you really want to hear that? It's going to be a joke. I mean, I couldn't even imagine it.
I can't.
These people don't know what they are really getting into or what they want. They think they do.
No, I mean, that's what I was saying to this guy. It's like your whole plan about the economy, or like if you're voting for president based on Syrian refugees, your priorities on either side, pro or con, your priorities are horrible.
Yeah, it's ridiculous fear mongering and hyper focus on issues that shouldn't be focused as much on.
Yeah, exactly. And the president, they don't run our culture. They don't run how college campuses talk to each other. They don't run the media.
Yeah.
As much as Trump wants the president to run the media, they don't.
Yeah. Oh my God, I can't even imagine that.
They run the government. Yeah. And if you have to talk about a government policy, and that's what you never get down to with these people. Okay, well, how do you want to vet Muslims? How's that going to work? Are you going to, ask them a question? Do you want to kill the infidels? Great, that's going to work.
And all Trump's bombast, like the whole thing about,
extreme vetting,
but also enlisting the Muslim lineup. What's it called? What is it called? The board of just like listing, like checking who's Muslim. What, missing the word.
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
Like, how he's gonna make a list. He's gonna
make a list of like the countries that have or been overcome by terrorism or something.
Well, no, Muslims that have came to the U.S.
Oh yeah, like a registry.
Registry, and the thing about that is these people don't think that the NSA already knows who's Muslim and who's not. I mean, that's so naive. They know. That's the least they know. Yes, they you don't need a fucking registry for that. I mean, it's just a waste of time.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at with this guy. I mean, his entire game plan for American society and Western society, it's totalitarianism.
Yeah. I mean, this guy Ross is just an absolute moron.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I've ever talked to him on Twitter. I think I might have argued with him about transgender or something.
I think I argued with him about guns, and
I was a pro-gun guy. Ugh.
oh no, and so I listed a myriad of countries in Western Europe that have lowered the overall violent crime rate because of the taking away of guns. And then he listed, I think, one country or two that have had a steady increase or no drop, and this is evidence that gun control has no effect.
That's
It was so stupid. I mean, this guy's, you know what, Ross? Just travel to anywhere in Western Europe or Asia. I'm talking Japan and China, and see how safe you are. Just understand that it's
yeah. Gun control is one that I mean. That's one I don't even fathom how people are on the other side of that.
these people have never traveled outside the U.S. They don't. It's
Yeah, you go to London, you go to Amsterdam, you go to Berlin. You
they're
know,
laughing at us. It is the stupidest issue.
well, it's like the idea that guns make your society safer.
It's oh my god, and
And then people will bring up the dumbest arguments in history to support their anti-gun control points. It's like, well, they'll just stab people with knives. They'll just use knives, or they'll push people out windows. Like, come on.
or Hitler took the guns, Stalin took the guns, and this is what they're trying to do. It's Melissa Bryce.
Oh, who's that?
Trump.
A Trump supporter. Should we talk to her?
I think I've seen her. I see. I just know people I've blocked, and usually I do that for a good reason. And I suspect it's just Trump. Ross and MOC have a lot in common. Clifford is listing in the chat.
Who's that?
I don't know. He's
who's Amos Yee?
this atheist guy who supports pedophiles.
Oh, okay. Do I want to block these people?
No, not Cliff. Maybe Ross if he gets out of hand.
Okay, well, if he's supporting pedophiles,
this guy's never traveled anywhere. Yeah, Raph, it's super safe in Western Europe right now. A few million Muslims, no guns to defend yourself. It's super safe. Oh my God, what an untraveled motherfucker.
Yeah, I was just in, I did a Europe trip pretty recently, and I was hanging out, in London and Paris. It's kind of like dodgy neighborhoods in Paris where there is lots of Muslims, and
yeah,
I was totally fine. It was pretty damn safe. It felt safer than most parts of America.
The worst ghettos in Europe, it's nothing compared to any ghetto inside the United States. And then these guys will say, "Oh well, but those ghettos are states that have strict gun laws." Yeah, illegal weapons transfer through other states. Just if you have a nationwide ban, it has no effect on that.
No, it's you look in New York City, we have a lot fewer illegal guns on the street in New York City compared to Chicago or Los Angeles, and we have fewer shootings. It's like, wow. It's kind of one of those, it's like an economic thing. If you can think economically, you can understand that issue, because imagine if the price of guns was doubled. The price of legal guns, let's say, if it's $100, it's $200. Wouldn't that reduce shootings? Like anybody should be able to figure that out.
But it's not doubled. It's in most cases tripled, quadrupled.
Oh yeah. I'm sure if you buy a gun in like New Orleans, I'm pretty sure it's like $5.
Yeah, I mean it's illegal weapons. The transfer of them is a lot harder than people think, and especially if you really focus on having strong security. It's not.
No, I follow my police precinct in my neighborhood. It's kind of like
this guy just says, "Are you going to deny the murders and rapes in Germany right now?" Dude, Devin Tracy lives there, and he tells you it's not as bad as people are saying it is. Okay? If that isn't enough for you, I don't know what is.
Yeah, people think Muslims are all rapists, and I don't understand that. Like Muslims are not any more rapey or like inclined to rape people than anyone else, are they? I mean, I've never heard any sort of substantiation of that sort of
It's
claim.
it's it's
And
more
I think I think it comes down to sort of what I was saying before. It's like Freudian, just like base level fear of like miscegenation and rape and all
you
all
know
that.
that Muslims from certain countries have different customs of treating women, but yeah,
Yeah,
okay, that is understood and that's a problem. But it doesn't override the necessity of having to take people that are fighting for their lives and then that have nothing. It's
yeah, but I have not. You know, obviously, you take any group of people who are in a country, some of them are going to be criminals, right?
yeah,
And it's pretty easy to take a few of those events and sort of blow it out of proportion. I'm not an expert on this, but I think you look at the crime stats from these countries. I don't think that I don't think people who are getting refugee status are committing crimes at extraordinarily high rates. I'd be kind of surprised if that was the case.
I think it's somewhat true, but it's not. But this is the thing: it's not. It's true in I think Germany, for example, but it's not. It's not so much as it's like some giant. It's not a disaster. Is the point? It's
Yeah,
and Devin Tracy, who has
and
okay, yeah, Devin says it's not that bad. Devin has made videos on refugees, right? You're talking about the guy who says fuck Islam, and he's telling you it's not as bad. What more do you want?
yeah. Well, I think you cannot tell me that people from Syria are more likely to commit a rape than an immigrant from, I don't know, India or
Oh yeah, India's rape culture is crazy. I mean, it's yeah.
Yeah. So like if someone's a Hindu, are they not going to be a rapist at any point? If someone's from Brazil, they're not going to be a rapist. I mean, it's like anyone who's possible, like, and that
Yeah,
whole sort of
all
like,
countries just have different customs of treating women. I mean, it's just the way it is. It's
yeah,
not.
but the whole sort of paranoia about that,
Yeah,
I have not heard anyone justify that in a coherent way. It's all this sort of fear monger, and I think that bubbles up when there's a terrorist attack, really, right? When
yeah.
there's Paris attack or something like that, then people are really they're afraid, and they sort of have these very deep psychological Freudian fears
Well, I
of
mean,
these.
that's why people like Gad Saad are supporting Trump. It's because he's
Oh
focused
yeah,
higher.
he said he was like totally afraid when he saw a woman in a niqab. Like he was just like overcome with fear
Oh
and
my
he
God,
like ran
this is
away.
PTSD from that Lebanon civil war. Does he? Oh man.
Yeah, it's like I saw two women in niqabs today, and I did not, I didn't run away. I mean, I don't like it. I don't like that women.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's suppressing women, but it's not destroying the U.S. It's not, and it won't.
No, no, it's
In
so.
fact, usually people get Muslims that move here usually become more revealing of their clothing once they get here.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like when you're talking about people's birth rates, people move to the United States. Their birth rate's not going to be that different if you control for the fact that they're younger immigrants, right?
Yeah,
People in the United States, you're not a lot of immigrants who are 70 years old, right? Most immigrants are younger age, so they're going to have a higher birth rate than people who are a mature population who's lived in the United States for much longer and has much more grandparents and great grandparents. It's like those basic facts just go by the wayside because Stephen Molyneux or one of these
definitely. Yeah,
this fascist with his like fucking PowerPoint presentation.
he loves those PowerPoint presentations. Oh my God.
People who think Stephen Molyneux is like a smart, good source of information, like,
Yeah,
fuck.
Stefan.
Like you are an idiot if you think that. You are a
He has
fucking
some.
idiot.
He's a very weird guy.
He's
have
a
you?
cult, I think.
No, oh, dude, I've read about his stuff. Like, he has things where he tells his supporters to, if he's gonna be a true supporter to him, he has to leave. They have to leave their family if they're not an anarchist.
Right.
Their family is an anarchist. They have
That's
to
like a
leave.
cult. That's like straight up Scientology or something.
Oh, it's insane. And this guy's taken seriously. I mean, it's beyond me. And he's become the Sam Harris of the Trump movement.
Ruben talked to him.
Well, what?
Yeah, Ruben talked to Molyneux, I think.
Really?
I think so.
No way. Is this recent?
I mean, I don't watch Ruben's videos because it's.
Yeah, I got.
I don't deign to listen to them because listening for me to listen to Ruben, it's like it's really not fair, you know.
Oh, he did on Stefan Molyneux show. Oh my god, yeah. Dude, he's one thing he talks about. He is. Let's talk about big ideas. The regressive left, people, not people, ideas. He learned that phrase from Sam Harris, and he parrots it on every single issue. It is the most annoying thing.
I've never heard him say anything of any substance on any issue.
Never. He parrots and appeases.
No, it's fine if you're being an interviewer who just asks basic questions. That's fine if I really like the person who's being interviewed, right? If Christopher Hitchens was on, Rubin Report, I would have listened to that. Or, Sam Harris, I'll listen to that. If it's someone, who I just really like to listen to, it could be anyone interviewing them, and it would be interesting. But Rubin brings nothing to the table whatsoever. And for me to listen to him talk about politics, it's like if Kareem Abdul-Jabbar listened to me talk about being an NBA center or something. It's like,
yeah, he seems like he's just discovered his way through the political spectrum, and he's just learning through internet comments.
No, exactly. He's like, he doesn't read books. He like watches YouTube videos as his entire way of understanding the world. It's like, dear Lord, dude.
Like, Sam Harris is so delusional on him. I don't get why he's so. I was trolling this guy on Twitter, Eric Weinstein. You know this guy? He was on Sam Harris's podcast. Oh, was he the Jewish dude who disagreed with Sam?
Yeah, well, he works for Peter Thiel, and he's like kind of a Democrat, but he's kind of like a big fan of Cernovich and some of these people.
Talking about how Sam Harris's tone is bad and he approaches people the wrong way or something.
Yeah,
like
that guy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he like I sent him a bunch of mean tweets because he's an idiot, or he's not an idiot, but he basically panders to Rubin and Molyneux and Cernovich and all these different people who are just detestable people. And he got so angry. He got so angry. He started sending me all these Twitter messages, and he wanted to call me on the phone.
Oh my god.
What a weirdo.
I mean, could you even imagine Sam Harris debating Mike Cernovich?
No, there'd be no reason.
It would be just an absolute beatdown of the century. I mean, it would be Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez. It would be just, it would be over. I mean,
well, but that's like someone who's like an interpretive dancer going off into the UFC and just interpretive dancing while a UFC fighter was just pummeling him. They're not doing the same thing. They're not interacting with reason on this, on the same plane. It's not even, they couldn't have an argument. They couldn't have a discussion because they're completely different, Whoa.
Is this Melissa Bryce? Isn't this Ross's girlfriend, or I might be wrong. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, well,
you have I thought I was hated more than anyone. I guess you can top me. I mean,
oh my god. Well, look at these. She said a bunch of these comments here. Skype is way more annoying. That I don't know. Yeah.
Oh man. I love that all these people have been blocked by Devin. It's funny.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe I need to start doing some YouTube videos.
People have moved on. People have moved on, and it's hard for people to accept.
Yeah, well, all of these things go in a cycle, right? You know, there's all that stuff that came out of like the Ben Affleck moment and Charlie Hebdo and the Paris attack and San Bernardino, all that sort of stuff. That was a big moment in time, right?
Yeah.
And the election was a big moment in time because that's all that stuff sort of went on the back burner, right?
Yep.
And the election was a big moment. And now we're in a new moment. We don't know exactly what it is. It's this Donald Trump is president moment, which is,
Yeah, exactly.
it's hard to even fathom what is up and what is down. You know, all these people who, you know, they call themselves atheists, but now they're going to be defending a guy who puts all these creationists.
His VP is a fucking creationist. Holy shit.
Yeah, it's like most of the people in the cabinet so far are creationists.
I mean,
like the majority.
We have totally lost the plot. People in this area have totally, we got way too focused, hyper focused on SJWs and all this stupid nonsense that is so insignificant, and we forgot about things that are really important.
Yeah, yeah, man. I mean, it's wild. It's wild, but it's going to be interesting to see how all that develops. I mean, I'm really hoping that we can, you know, those of us who are anti-Trump can sort of get a groundswell against him going, and get, you know, people to really, like, you know, he needs to be hated. He needs to have a 25% approval rating. You know, there needs to be.
Yeah, when he comes to Trump Tower, there needs to be thousands just screaming outside. I mean,
I hope nobody rents apartments there and he just goes out of business.
Oh yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if all his real estates start getting destroyed. I mean, physically, I'm talking people start like looting it. I mean,
yeah. Well, if you're in New York City, I was looking at some of the listings for the Trump buildings, and a lot of them had like they decreased the price like $5 million. Or they decreased it like 7 times in the last like 8 months because they can't sell them. Because if you have, it's like, would you rather have a 4-bedroom apartment or whatever in a Trump building, or a 4-bedroom in another building that, you know, maybe it costs $10,000 more, but it's not a Trump building. So even if you're ambivalent about Trump, you don't want protesters outside your house. You know?
Look at this guy. Yeah, SJW is inspiring race riots against white police officers for black crimes. What's everyone so worked out about? How many like officers have died? Come, dude, just stop.
It's like, if you actually look at it, a lot more police officers died in the 70s and 80s and 90s than now.
Yeah,
a lot.
It's so safe. I mean, listen, and I'm not saying that BLM is not Clifford throwing the lines in there, but it's so over the top. I mean,
I think a lot of these people also, they don't know what the average black person thinks about race, or they think the average black person is racist against white people.
Yeah, they think the average black person is a BLM supporter. If you first of all, you can have honest conversations with black people and then change their mind about subjects. I've done it many times.
Yeah, well, I lived in a black neighborhood for a while. I've experienced a few times where a crazy person who's black, the same way a crazy Trump supporter might, you know, assault me with saying awful things to me. I've had that a couple times, but almost every black person I know in my life has not at all on board with the worst, like, social justice warrior, whatever sort of view of white people. You know, they're not. That's not how they view the world. You know, and I think black people are much less racist than white people. I mean, it's almost like an obvious point to most people, but not to these people. Like, black people have lived as minorities, so they actually have a understanding that it feels bad to be treated that way.
Yeah.
And you know, I interact with a lot of black people, you know, almost every day, and they're totally lovely, great people. You know, the idea that there's this huge groundswell of all white people are at fault for cops killing people. No, not at all.
And I would say the majority of it is white kids at college campuses.
Yeah, like my neighbor in Bed-Stuy, he's a Trump supporter.
Yeah,
like, there's a lot of diversity out there. There's a lot of diversity of opinion, and the sort of like, oh my God, there's riots on all the streets. No, there isn't.
Oh my God, Alex, we have a black fan of ours. Can you believe it? Clifford. Oh, it's a unicorn. Oh my God, look at this guy.
Yeah, well, it's like my gym that I work out at, on the weekends and in the summer is all it's like all guys it's all black guys who are like 45 years old. It's like the average person there. And I talk to all these guys. We talk sports and politics and stuff all the time. And they're like the most middle of the road, just normal people you'll ever talk to about anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. I mean, Ross he played linebacker, so he should know some black guys.
Yeah, he should know Mike Singletary.
Yeah, Ross, didn't you play with Lawrence Taylor? You were on the Giants, right? Oh my God, yeah. So he's a bug. He's a praying mantis. This guy, tough guy.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people who are fans of Devin have the animal symbol. That's their spirit animal.
It's odd.
Yeah, I guess you got to pick something unless it's going to be your face.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. And the face, just go with that. I mean,
yeah, well, I understand some people. If you're like a Nazi, you don't want that out there.
Yeah, that was so funny that the Richard Spencer video. All those people were blurred out, and
yeah, well, I wouldn't want it out there that I was a Nazi.
I mean, yeah, but these people need to be exposed. I mean, that's why the internet is so. There's so many of these people because they can hide and they can be in their own neat places without getting the social fallout that will happen if you announce.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Just people are so they're so sensitive about that sort of stuff. Like I think I was so understanding, and I listened to that guy and I talked to him. I let him say what he was going to say. I think I was very nice to him, wasn't I?
Yeah, you were quite cordial at the beginning, but after he interrupted you repeatedly and started just going on these long rants where he listed 26 talking points in just like a paragraph, you responded back harshly, but it was for a reason.
Yeah, I think I could have been much. I could have called him a racist and a bigot for all the things he said about Muslim people, which maybe I probably should have, but that's one of those things that there is that sort of conversational intolerance to people. You shouldn't call somebody anti-Semite or a bigot or a racist. Even if they are, you shouldn't call them that because they get really defensive and it shuts down the conversation, and it isn't the point you want to make towards them, because being called a racist, it really sucks, or being an anti-Semite or whatever, it really sucks. And I shouldn't have called him an anti-Semite to begin with. That was wrong of me. I shouldn't have done that. And I'm going to try to not in the future just think don't call someone a racist. Just try to point out the fact that they're getting wrong. And
that's a great lesson we have learned this Thanksgiving. And Slender Chunk and can learn from this to actually research.
Well, what I'm saying to him, he's in the chat here. What I'm saying to him is, if he was talking to anybody who was a normal person, if he was on CNN, they'd be like, "Holy crap, you're a racist, asshole. Fuck you." You know, that's what most people would say to this guy.
Yeah, we're quite nice to him. I mean, most of the world would just alienate him.
Yeah, the fact that I'm listening to someone go on this huge rant about Muslim invaders and all that, like most people would not listen to that.
Oh yeah.
So, but you do need to sort of you do need to watch your language towards people and try not to insult them and try not to mischaracterize their views at all. Even if you have to be kind of too charitable to them, almost you need to have too much empathy for their points, unless they're just a straight up Nazi. Then just kill them.
Yep. All right, Alex. I think this is the lesson we've learned tonight in this Thanksgiving. I think it was a spirited debate. I think you came on top. Sorry, Condor, but I think it's true. And I think I'm going to go to bed, man.
All right. Good talking, man.
Good talking to you too. Talk to you later, man. See you.
Adios.